Chapter 201. Amid the noise, the unconscious Saint Princess finally woke up and opened her deep blue eyes. What's going on? Because she fainted suddenly, Carco's memory was a little confused and she just felt a severe headache. Clementine replied calmly, "It's all over, Your Majesty." Carl was startled by the sudden voice beside him, but he quickly reacted after seeing the other person's face. "Thank you." "No, how is His Majesty Sig?" At that moment, she remembered everything. The scene of Sig being stabbed in the chest was still vivid in her mind. It was he who saved her from the assassin. Although she didn't see any blood, her memory could not be wrong. After thinking through the whole story, Carl was very eager to know whether her savior was out of danger. Clementine licked her lower lip, revealing two faintly visible fangs, and raised her hand in a gesture of invitation. "If Your Majesty wants to know the truth, please move to the front." Carl couldn't wait to run to the edge of the stands, holding the railing and looking outside. Those familiar faces were undoubtedly the people of the Holy Kingdom, but the titles they shouted were those of monarchs of other countries. Carco murmured to himself, "Long live His Majesty the Sorcerer King." On the original fighting arena, the majestic undead king and his extremely handsome prime minister stood there, accepting the worship of everyone. Roar! A dragon roar was heard in the sky, followed by a strong wind. The colorful Dragon King, covered in colorful rays of light, descended from the sky, causing the crowd to scream continuously. The women present especially had to hold down their skirts hard to avoid revealing their private parts. I can only say that it is worthy of being a perverted dragon. Even when landing, it wants to harm the opposite S**X. Isn't this the same dragon that was with the evil dragon? Yes, that's the guy who used dragon breath. As soon as the seven-colored Dragon King landed, his identity was recognized. But it is quite subtle that the Platinum Dragon King is called an evil dragon. To the people at the scene, the Platinum Dragon King was indeed an evil being. Not only did he sneak in to launch a surprise attack, he also wanted to kill them all. Once the highest level origin magic primal Big Bang is successfully launched, the Northern Holy Kingdom will also be razed to the ground. The Platinum Dragon King was fighting with the idea of dying together. Even if he had to sacrifice himself, he would take Sig and his group of filth away with him. As for the lives of other humans, he didn't care so much. However, the result was obviously far from what the Platinum Dragon King had expected. Not only did he lose himself, but he also became a breakthrough for the true Dragon King. Under everyone's astonished gaze, Sig jumped off the dragon's back and said with a smile, "Everyone, don't be nervous. The seven-colored Dragon King is not an enemy. He is just a real Dragon King who was deceived." The colorful Dragon King lowered his head, curled up his body, and completely prostrated himself on the ground. "Your Majesty, I am willing to submit to the Sorceress Kingdom." When these words were spoken, everyone was shocked and speechless. The Holy Kingdom and the Theocracy share the same faith roots and are both purely human countries, so they have reached consensus on many issues. They knew very well what kind of existence the true Dragon King was. He was the strongest of the Dragon clan who was even more powerful than the Dragon King. Such a legendary powerful being was actually defeated by the Sorcerer King, and the other party even showed submission. What kind of powerful force could do this? The Dragon clan may not represent justice, but it is indeed a symbol of strength. The Sorcerer King is unfathomable. Everyone's eyes were focused on Ainz again, and in addition to gratitude, there was also admiration and fear in their eyes. Ainz coughed lightly and said, "The dragon has been defeated and is now sealed in the forest to the north. I hope you will not be too curious." "Your Majesty, the Sorcerer King, can't you just kill the dragon?" "Yes, this evil existence should be wiped out directly." They kept venting their hatred towards the Platinum Dragon King. Ainz was a little surprised. The effect seemed to be too good. The Platinum Dragon King was stigmatized before any publicity was given. Seeing that the time was right, Sig said helplessly, "Let me answer this question. In fact, the evil dragon is the Dragon King behind the scenes of the review country. His purpose of coming here has not been found out yet, so we can't act rashly." When it came to the involvement of kings of other countries, especially the powerful Council of State, the voices at the scene gradually quieted down. After all, this is a major event between countries and it is not something that people like them can decide. "You are a bunch of liars. You are all in the same gang." A crazy woman suddenly rushed out from the crowd, pointed at Sig and others and started cursing, with unconcealable hatred in her eyes. "Remedios." Carl opened his mouth in surprise and looked at the scene in disbelief. "Captain, what nonsense are you talking about? Gustavo and Isidro rushed out at the same time, and the two deputy commanders of the Paladin Order, one on each side, held Remedio's arms tightly, preventing her from moving forward. As long as he doesn't attack, what he says now is just the nonsense of a madman, and there is still room for recovery. Sister, calm down. Cocytus, who was hiding in the dark, couldn't help but run out. But at this time, Remedios obviously couldn't listen to anyone. The veins on her forehead were bulging, and she looked completely different from before. I already know everything. Don't try to lie to me again. Liar, hypocrite, murderer. Even after being scolded, Sig always had a smile on his face. There was really nothing worth getting angry about such childish words. Albedo also showed a look of contempt. Is the leader of your country's paladin just this kind of lunatic? Remedios realized something was wrong. She looked around and found that everyone's eyes were full of malice, shame, disgust, anger, and ridicule. Even the two lieutenants beside her did not dare to look her in the eye. No, no, I'm telling the truth, you can't doubt me. Remedios slowly stepped back, and when she turned around she saw the familiar figure, and her eyes lit up. Carlco, I knew you would believe me. Bang! A loud slap landed on Remedios's face, knocking her head to the side. Carlco put down his red hands, his eyes filled with disappointment and sadness, with tears welling up in his eyes. Don't slander my savior! Pavel flashed behind Remedios and knocked her down with his hand. The former leader of the paladins finally stopped yelling. Carlco walked straight past Cocytus, came to the front, bowed and saluted. Your Majesty the Sorcerer King, Your Majesty the Holy Dragon King, it is thanks to you that the people of the Holy Kingdom were saved from disaster this time. I, Carlco Basaraz, as the Holy King, request to establish a friendly alliance with the Sorceress Kingdom. I hope Your Majesty will consider it. Sig smiled and glanced at Ainz, and everyone's eyes were focused on him. Ainz smiled helplessly. He really was the center of attention this time. Your Majesty Carlco, I will consider it carefully and give you a reply soon. Carlco breathed a sigh of relief and glanced at Sig secretly, only to find that he was also looking at her. The moment their eyes met, she immediately lowered her head. Sig's smile was naturally from the heart. After all, the northwest of the continent was about to be unified, and the foundation for conquering the world had been laid. The Council Kingdom, the last piece of the puzzle, will soon be taken over by Nazarick. Chapter 202. Damn it, filth! I think I have successfully eliminated one of their combat capabilities. The shadow that was hiding at an extremely fast speed revealed its true form, and it was the incarnation of the Dark Dragon King. After the attack was successful, he fled without looking back. He has now left the territory of the Holy Kingdom and arrived at the edge of the continent. That woman was so violent that she almost damaged my precious clone. If I didn't want to use my real body. The Dark Dragon King snorted coldly. If he were to fight back with his true form, he would certainly be able to completely defeat Albedo. As a true Dragon King, his strength is not much worse than Platinum, and his level has also exceeded LV90, entering the ranks of the strongest dragons. In a one-on-one duel, the Dark Dragon King is confident that he will never lose to his opponent. However, he didn't know if it was an illusion, but he always felt a lingering fear along the way. The clone's perception ability is not as good as the original body. After all, it is just a corpse, and its control ability is even worse than that of the platinum armor. Thinking of this, the Dark Dragon King was actually a little jealous, because the Platinum Dragon King's talent was just too good. Although he is 100 years younger than him, his strength is growing faster than his. He has surpassed this old senior in all aspects and is also the son of the noble Dragon Emperor. If nothing unexpected happens, the Platinum Dragon King may become the next Dragon King and the ruler of this world. But there is no if in everything. The Dragon Emperor's sins are so serious that he is destined to be a sinner. The Platinum Dragon King is so dedicated to protecting the world and eradicating filth, perhaps he also wants to atone for his sins. The idea of Chang'an Dragon King is not that complicated. He just wants to gain benefits, and dealing with filth is just a side effect. Humph, I think it should be no problem to leave the rest to Platinum and Seven Colored. I must return to the main body as soon as possible. This is double insurance to prevent unexpected events. If Platinum and Colorful win, he can preserve his strength and participate in subsequent battles. If he loses, he will never leave the underground cave and will fall into a deep sleep, waiting for the next century of shock. As for the feeling of being tracked, Chang'an Dragon King just thought it was an illusion. After all, he stayed here for a long time and no enemy appeared, and no one could lock on him with his speed. The Dark Dragon King no longer hesitated and turned into a black stream of light and rushed away. In a dark room on the 5th floor of Nazarick, Nigret, dressed in black mourning clothes, sneered with an ambiguous tone. Because there was no skin to cover her teeth, all her teeth were exposed, and the smile on her face looked extremely scary. Haha, finally locked it. Holy Kingdom, the royal city of Hobans. As the dragon attack had not yet been resolved, Ainz and Sig did not leave, and so they followed the Holy Queen's wishes and stayed there temporarily. It is my fault for letting the Supreme Being live in such a shabby place. After entering the room, Albedo immediately frowned and expressed her dissatisfaction directly. Not only was it inferior to the Supreme Bedroom of Nazarick, it was even inferior to the one in the kingdom. It was really unbelievable. It's okay. This kind of thing is harmless. Ainz waved his hand. He didn't need to sleep. He usually watched movies to kill time at night and didn't care much about the sleeping environment. However, he didn't seem to have asked Sig's opinion yet. Sig sighed, after all, she is the incorruptible Saint Queen. I am a little tempted to go back to Nazarick and sleep. Albedo's eyes sparkled, and she fluttered her wings excitedly, and she was about to agree. Ainz coughed and said, Sig-san, don't forget your business. The dragon hunt is not over yet. Although he sent an order to Demiurge as soon as the Platinum Dragon King appeared, he has not received a response yet. We must never let our guard down until the dust settles. That's true. Sig smiled and sat directly on the sofa, with no regrets on his face at all. Ainz realized that Sig was joking just now. How could this guy become so mean now? She was apparently very innocent before, but now she has one concubine after another in her harem, and there is no sign of any fire. Is it true that bad men are more likely to be liked by women? President, what are you thinking about? Sig raised his hand and waved it in front of Ainz, calling back the distracted skeleton. By the way, why is the child you brought not here? I remember her name was Juisi. She performed well this time. In fact, the person people should be most grateful to is Juisi, because it was she who used world-class props to protect everyone. Now he is the one being praised, and he feels a little embarrassed as this is stealing the credit from the little girl. Ainz does have a good personality, but he has one very obvious flaw: he is too thin-skinned. Sig spread his hands and said, I asked Juisi to go back, in case she said something wrong. You are worthy of being like this, Sig-san. It's okay for you to just send the person away. Ainz complained in his heart, but did not dwell on the matter anymore. Albedo's frown also relaxed a little. In fact, she didn't like desperate situations. The most important reason is that Juisi is the descendant of other players, as well as dangerous moves like Death End. If her husband didn't like this concubine, she would definitely kill her directly to eliminate the hidden danger. Sig suddenly asked, Albedo, what's the situation with Nigret? Can you confirm Chang'an's hiding place? Albedo nodded slightly. We have successfully locked onto the Everdark Dragon King. All that's left is to wait. Last time, Nigild had actually been able to confirm the whereabouts of the Dark Dragon King, but he went to find the Platinum Dragon King halfway. However, in order to avoid being discovered by the Platinum Dragon King, the surveillance was forced to be interrupted, and the clone of the Dark Dragon King took this opportunity to leave. Therefore, Nigild only knew the direction but not the specific location. This opportunity was rare, so we captured the Platinum Dragon King directly and took advantage of this opportunity to kill the Dark Dragon King as well. It was a perfect ending. Ainz asked with some concern, but can Shaltir really face the true Dragon King alone? To be honest, he was still a little worried, because Shaltir gave people the feeling that she was a little unreliable. With the blood frenzy and low IQ, the probability of her failing was too high. Ainz was also afraid that his friend's child would be harmed because of this. Even if he couldn't see Pararon Sino, he didn't want to do anything to let him down. So, I added a layer of insurance. Didn't you notice that I didn't use magic this time? Sig also took great pains to take care of his little idiot, and he even gave away all his external accessories. Hearing this, Ainz connected the dots and finally understood. According to Sig's personality, he is definitely not the type to hide anything, and he will not miss the opportunity to use the original magic in front of the Platinum Dragon King. Sig-san, you are really hard to guard against. Chapter 203. As the sun sets, the sky turns a fiery red. The smooth journey made Chang'an Dragon King gradually relax his vigilance, and the coming night would be his best protection. The Everin Dragon King is also known as the Dark Dragon King. The title of Dragon King is awarded based on one's own characteristics, which is equivalent to a real name. The so-called characteristics generally refer to the tendency of the original magic. The unique original magic of the Dark Dragon King is of dark attribute, and both offense and defense are very complete. If there is a similar one, it is the Thousand Blade Dragon King. Just from the name you can tell that it specializes in physical attacks. The titles of the new generation of Dragon Kings are now varied. Basically, they are unable to master the original magic, so the naming rules have become much looser. Logically speaking, the new generation of dragons can still master the original magic. After all, the 8 Desire Kings only blocked the learning path. But the rank magic and the origin magic are seriously mutually exclusive, just like there can only be one blue bar, if you learn one you cannot learn the other. Compared to the difficult to learn origin magic, rank magic is obviously easier to master, and the latter quickly replaced the former. This resulted in no true Dragon King being born in the Dragon clan for hundreds of years, and their strength dropped drastically. P.S. Compared with other races, it is still powerful. After all, the upper limit of dragon level is close to level 100, but the magic is not as strong as before, and the top level 36 among humans is already the limit, and dragons can easily reach it without any training. Perhaps the 8 Desire Kings planned it deliberately, or perhaps it was just a coincidence, but it did directly lead to the decline of the Dragon clan. First kill the existing strong ones, and then cut off the new forces, which is completely aimed at exterminating the entire clan. However, the 8 Desire Kings did not gain much benefit. They all died for unknown reasons, and in the end, Sig and his group of latecomers got the upper hand. Back to the topic, the perspective shifts to the Dark Dragon King. Perhaps because he had returned to a familiar environment, the clone's movements became much slower, or more accurately, more casual. He flew above the location of his main body and looked around slowly. Checking the surrounding environment is also a necessary step to ensure safety. It looks safe. As soon as he finished speaking, a sharp spear stabbed over, carrying a strong smell of blood. Chang'an Dragon King seemed to sense something and quickly pulled away to avoid it. He looked up and suddenly a girl in bright red armor appeared in front of him. The face of the helmet opened up, forming a swan-like head, while also revealing that beautiful face. The full body armor completely covered her body and came with a wide skirt. The weapon in his hand seems to be a variation of a knight's lance, with a round sphere on the gun body, which seems to have no major use except for decoration. No matter from which angle you look at it, the equipment of the girl in front of you does not look like proper combat gear, but it is this strange feeling that makes Chang'an Dragon King confirm his inner doubts. You actually chased me here, the filth of the Dragon Emperor. You reacted quickly. You actually dodged my attack. Shaltir snorted coldly because she missed. I clearly attacked when the opponent was relaxed, but I failed. It's a bit hard to understand. Haha, after all, the enemy is filth, I won't take it lightly. Chang'an Dragon King has lived for hundreds of years at least. He is a cautious person by nature, so how could he be completely defenseless? In fact, he was just trying it out one last time, but he didn't expect that the enemy would actually be exposed. Although he said it lightly, the current situation was still very unfavorable for him. He had no idea about the enemy's identity, number, and purpose. Shaltir rubbed the spear in her hand, but she remembered Sig's instructions and forcibly stopped the urge to take action. I am Shaltir Bloodfallen. You dare to hurt my subordinates. You will pay the price. Could it be a player? Chang'an Dragon King was a little surprised, which meant that the person he attacked was just an NPC, and this was the real player. To be honest, he did have doubts. The Sorcerer King and the Holy Dragon God were only the leaders in the open, and the real players might be hiding in the dark. But that shouldn't be the case. The main fighting force should be used to deal with Platinum and the Seven-Colored Dragon King. He is just an insignificant assassin. Chang'an Longwang deliberately said, I advise you to go back and check on your subordinates, lest they be wiped out by my companions. Moreover, he had just checked with his main body and found that there was no one else around. Therefore, the person who followed him all the way should be the girl in front of him, or should be said to be a suspected player. Could it be that she has seen through her true self? To be on the safe side, we still have to try it out a bit. Just when Chang'an Dragon King wanted to continue speaking, the girl's angry roar sounded in his ears. You rude person, let me take care of you myself. Pure throwing spear. A silver spearhead appeared in Shalter's hand, and as her MP decreased, the silver spearhead flew out of her hand, drawing an upward parabola. Using MP can make special skills have a guaranteed hit attribute, and a special sacred attribute, which is a great skill for dealing with the undead. The black-robed man was pierced in the chest and fell straight to the ground. Damn it! The Dark Dragon King in the cave slapped the ground angrily. The pain of part of his soul being eliminated made him even more anxious, and there was a constant rumbling sound around him. Shaltir, who was several hundred meters above the ground, sensed something and stared at the ground in a daze. After Chang'an Dragon King noticed this, he calmed down a little and started thinking about the next countermeasures. If you come here alone, maybe you can make a plan. Based on the conversation just now, it can be determined that the enemy came here alone to pursue us for revenge. He has been using his clones to stay active, and as long as no one leaks the secret, no one can guess that he is the Dark Dragon King. Shaltir killed his clones so quickly and efficiently, probably because she didn't know his identity and just wanted to get rid of him quickly. If it were Chang'an Dragon King himself, he would never kill the clone easily to alert the enemy, and would definitely give priority to luring out the real body. Combined with the known information, this is the most reasonable explanation. In other words, the advantage is mine. It is not the first time that Chang'an Dragon King has dealt with this kind of brainless filth. All he needs to do is replicate the sneak attack from last time and immediately transfer his body after killing the creature. He believed 80% of Shalter's identity as a player, because NPCs are generally smarter than players and their actions are more regular. After the analysis, he calmed down completely. Because he had been underground for a long time, his scarlet eyes flashed with dark light. You stupid filth dared to damage my precious clone. I will make you pay the price. Middle-level origin magic world separation barrier. The most classic opening move of the true Dragon King is to first create an isolated space, restricting the enemy while leaving a way to retreat. World mobile. The huge dragon body deep underground flashed and appeared directly above Shaltir. At this time, the sun had completely set, and a huge black shadow blocked the remaining light, and an evil black air spread. The huge shadow dragon opened its mouth, dark light gradually gathered, and complete darkness enveloped the entire body. Along with the words announcing death, the breath-carrying negative energy was prepared, and a black energy column poured down instantly. I am the Everdark Dragon King, the filth of the Dragon Emperor, prepare to die. Chapter 204. The Dragon Clan's most proud method of attack is breath attack, which is a skill that will gradually become stronger with age. Not only does it have amazing destructive power and a large range, it can also add its own attribute damage. As a pure shadow dragon, the Dark Dragon King has a huge amount of negative energy flowing through his body, which can be released through dragon breath, dealing a heavy blow to the opponent. Facing the huge black energy column, Shalter's figure looked exceptionally small, as if she was about to be completely submerged in it. Anyone who takes this attack head-on will be seriously injured if not killed. So when the dragon's breath ended, Chang'an Dragon King subconsciously wanted to finish off the enemy, but the scene in front of him stunned him. Sanctuary of Power. Shalter's body glowed with white light, and she was completely enveloped in a protective shield formed by pure magic power. Even after being attacked head-on, she showed no sign of injury. She waved her hand to remove the protective shield, her scarlet eyes filled with hostility and murderous intent. Damn reptile, this hurts. Chang'an Dragon King's eyes widened. He no longer had the composure he had before and looked incredulous. Impossible, how could she take this move? Even if you can defend against the dragon's breath, the negative energy in it will still cause great damage. So that's how it is, you are the undead. Haha, it seems you're not that stupid after all, Ainz. Shalter's blatant ridicule made this true Dragon King, who had been smart all his life, lose face. Negative energy is equivalent to healing magic for the undead and can directly restore HP. Although the dragon breath of the Everdark Dragon King has the property of destruction and the negative energy can indeed cause damage, when it hits Shalter's body it is just like a tickle. The current situation is that we should be thankful that we don't restore the enemy's health. Chang'an Longwang was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He pretended to be calm and said, "Don't be so arrogant. Since you have the same attribute as me, you can't do anything to me. Undead are recognized as dark creatures and often use negative energy to fight. Why is it usually? Because most of them are like this. At least the Dark Dragon King has never seen an undead using sacred attribute skills. Pure throwing spear. Shaltir raised her hand and summoned the silver spearhead, then threw it out. Second shot. This is the must-hit skill to kill the clone. It doesn't seem like a big deal. You just need to defend yourself. Just as the Dark Dragon King was thinking this, his dragon scales emitted a dim light, as if covered with a layer of black curtain. Origin magic dark barrier. The white tip of the spear directly penetrated the defense and stabbed into the torso of the Dark Dragon King. A bone-piercing pain came from the wound. Roar! Shaltir spread her wings and flew directly into the air, letting out a sharp laugh. Ah ha ha ha, defense is ineffective. Ineffective. Chang'an Dragon King spat out a mouthful of blood. This time he was not angry, he was really vomiting blood. Holy attribute, how is it possible? How can an undead like you use a skill with holy attribute? Why? Shaltir thought about it for a rare moment, and the answer was very simple, because Lord Pararon Sino designed it this way, and many of her skills could restrain the undead. However, although she was stupid, she would not really answer the words of the Dark Dragon King. Yes, I will. Can't you understand this kind of thing? Chang'an Dragon King was in a very bad mood. Being mocked by a fool for being stupid was more painful than killing him. He simply gave it a go. Since magic couldn't win, don't blame him for playing dirty. Origin magic black hole. The Dark Dragon King raised his hand and released a pitch-black sphere, throwing it directly out. The moment the black ball approached Shaltir, it suddenly exploded, forming a black vortex that firmly absorbed the surrounding objects. The Dark Dragon King also approached at this time, ready to take this opportunity to switch to close combat. After all, a dragon's body is the strongest in the world. No warrior can compare to them, and they are invincible in hand-to-hand combat. Shaltir had been casting magic just now, and it was obvious that she wouldn't be able to do so with ease if someone got close to her. Impure Impact Shield. A shockwave centered on Shaltir spread out, shattering the black hole and knocking the Dark Dragon King away. Impure Impact Shield has both defensive and knockback effects, and it is very suitable to use at this time. Shaltir raised her hand and fired another pure throwing spear. Haha, one more. The Dark Dragon King hadn't gotten over his dizziness yet, and was attacked again. Before his brain could react, he was unexpectedly pierced by the tip of the sacred spear. Damn it! Shaltir quickly caught up, raised her dropper spear and stabbed forward, the spear body emitting a faint purple light. She licked her tongue and thrust a few more times, causing damage while quickly recovering her HP. Get out of my way! The Everdark Dragon King finally reacted, and a large amount of dark matter emerged from his body, instantly forming several large hands, all of which slapped towards Shaltir. High-level origin magic darkness invasion. High-level skills were difficult to dodge, and Shaltir's body was also pinched. Under the huge force, her body was deformed and blood spurted out of her mouth. Advanced Teleport About Death. The skill was successfully activated, and Shaltir's figure appeared more than 10 meters away, and her HP gradually recovered under the effect of general death. The man and the dragon did not continue attacking at the same time, but just stared at each other. The Dark Dragon King was still wrapped in black matter at this time. Dark Invasion was his original high-level original magic, which combined offense and defense, and could also add a strong erosion effect. It consumes a lot of soul energy when activated, but it lasts for a long time and can basically last until the end of the battle. However, judging from the fact that Shaltir was not greatly affected, she should have brought a world-class item. Although there is no way to confirm what it is definitely worth taking. The Dark Dragon King said coldly, "Filth, give up, you can't defeat me." Shaltir breathed heavily, and the impulse gradually rising in her lower abdomen made her gradually become excited. "Shut up! You stinky lizard are so talkative, I'm in a hurry to finish the battle." The Dark Dragon King paused, and happened to meet Shaltir's lustful eyes, and his dragon body shuddered. "This is too perverted. Is it really okay to do this in battle? Haha, let's start the second round." Shaltir's cheeks flushed, and a white light condensed in front of her, gradually transforming into a human form. The complete form of heroic spirit, specializing in spear weapons, is not comparable to the half-baked level of Juisajiming. Except for the inability to use special skills and magic, and the inability to use items, the armament and resistance are exactly the same as the original body, which is equivalent to a second Shaltir, with the same level 100 combat power. Chang'an Dragon King was very shocked, but he didn't intend to retreat at this time. As for the 20, he had no intention of using it at this time. The trump card had to be saved for last, not to mention that it was a disposable prop. As long as he defeated the enemy in front of him, he would move to a higher level. This knowledge strengthened his will. Come on, keep fighting to the death. Chapter 205. After making these harsh remarks, Shaltir and the heroic Ainz attacked the Everdark Dragon King together and started a beating. Although Chang'an Dragon King prides himself on his great strength, he still has a hard time facing two warriors with combat power of level 100. As their figures intersected, he gritted his teeth and said, "The clone's strength is almost the same as the original body. How despicable! Don't make such a fuss. It's your fault that you don't have such skills." The corners of Shaltir's mouth rose, and she did not try to hide her sense of superiority. This is the power that Lord Pararon Sino gave her, and now she is using it for Lord Sigat? Actually, it was for Insama, how could she forget that? However, Shaltir couldn't care less now. The blood frenzy gradually set in, and her mind wasn't so clear anymore. The battle was won, and Lord Sig rewarded him handsomely. This is perfect. Faced with a powerful enemy like the Everdark Dragon King, Shaltir released her repressed nature, and the blood surged throughout her body, forming a sharp contrast with the white heroic elves. Chang'an Dragon King suddenly felt something was wrong and immediately released a dark light. The original magic dark light. Behave yourself. Sanctuary of power. Shaltir did not dodge at all, and immediately released a magic barrier to completely block the attack. At the same time, the heroic warriors had rushed forward and were fighting with the Dark Dragon King, their dropper spears piercing the dragon's scales again and again. Causing damage while replenishing health points is really too shameless. Roar! The Dark Dragon King roared, consuming a large amount of soul energy, and once again summoned the darkness around him, with a black light shining from his mouth. Dark Dragon Breath. The heroic Ainz was caught off guard and restrained, and faced a dragon's breath, and his HP was immediately reduced by half. If it were Shaltir herself, she would have used her special skills to recover, but the heroic Ainz obviously couldn't do that. While Chang'an Dragon King was still immersed in the joy of destroying the enemy, a huge force came from above his body, followed by a piercing pain. Shaltir grabbed one of the dragon's wings and slammed directly into the dragon's body, instantly activating Impure Impact Shield. The powerful impact force directly pressed down, and the wings were torn apart. The Dark Dragon King, who had lost the ability to fly, fell directly to the ground with a loud noise. For a moment, the air was filled with smoke and the scene below could not be seen clearly. But this was not a difficult task for Shaltir, and her eyes lit up slightly. Life essence. The HP of the Dark Dragon King had been reduced to less than half of its original value. The whole dragon seemed to be stunned and lay on the ground motionless. Shaltir was not a merciful person and raised her hand to release another spell. Try this, Magic Maximum Enhancement, Brilliant Radiance. The Shadow Dragon was illuminated by the holy light and was directly purified, and its HP was also rapidly reduced. Using a clone to lure the enemy, you are amazing. Chang Yu's angry shout was heard from below, and Shaltir smiled. It is really pleasing to see the high and mighty Dragon King become like a stray dog. Ah, what's going on? The Dark Dragon King flew up from the ground. His broken wings had been restored to their original state, and in his hand was a magic scroll that had just been used up. His eyes were indifferent, unlike his previous panic, an extremely cold expression appeared on the dragon's face. You are very strong. I am no match for you in a one-on-one fight, but you revealed your cards too quickly. So, you will lose. Origin Magic Dark Light. What a joke. Shaltir wanted to use defensive magic, but found that she had no way to mobilize her magic power. The black light directly cut her body in half, and the heroic Ainz disappeared directly. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth, but she was not as panicked as Chang'an had expected. Time travel magic isn't okay, but what about special skills that don't consume MP? Shaltir directly went back in time to a few seconds ago, before she was attacked. The Dark Dragon King widened his eyes in shock, then he finally felt relieved and sighed quietly, as expected, you are my nemesis. The original magic Lightless Land can cast a curse that prohibits the use of magic power. It will take effect on anyone within the effect range, including the user. The soul power used by the Dark Dragon King does not consume magic power, so it was specially developed by him to deal with filth. It was thanks to this sneak attack that he was able to successfully seize the world-class items. The player was actually a magic caster with very good equipment, but perhaps because he lived too comfortably, he had no sense of defense at all. When encountering a strange being, not only is one not prepared for battle, but one's identity as an alien is also directly exposed. Chang'an Dragon King took action directly and snatched the world-class props. After experiencing another great battle, he had more combat experience and killed the opponent directly after using up all the opponent's resurrection props. The Shaltir in front of him was much more troublesome. She had complete offense and defense, was good at both long-range magic and close combat, and could also use holy magic to restrain him. Even if Chang'an Dragon King didn't want to admit it, he couldn't deceive himself anymore. If he didn't use 20, he would probably really die here. The dark light just now was his last soul power. He is the first true Dragon King to be killed by filth since the 8 Desire Kings. Such a title is too ugly. The Dark Dragon King tore through the space and took out a golden key from it. You are worthy of me using this item, witness it. Shaltir smiled, I can finally hold it in. Before Chang'an Dragon King had time to think about the meaning of this sentence, a young dragon suddenly appeared beside him. Ouch! What? The only one who is not affected by the world separation barrier, except for those carrying world-class items, is the true Dragon King. Jing Ke opened her mouth, and a terrifying ball of energy instantly condensed into shape. High-level origin magic world annihilation. How could the original magic that belongs only to the Platinum Dragon King appear here? The eyes of the Dark Dragon King were filled with reluctance and confusion. He wanted to activate the world-class item immediately, but the golden key had already flown away from him along with the broken dragon claw. Jing Ke used World Move to immediately catch the key, then quickly flew back and placed it in the hands of its owner. Well done, Jing Ke. Shaltir's eyes lit up, and she flew over directly, Master Sig. Sig put the key into the space and raised his hand to touch Shaltir's cheek. Thank you for your hard work, Shaltir. Shaltir's breathing became heavier, and she swallowed quietly, with hearts forming in her eyes. Start now, for the reward. Sig had a gentle smile on his face, but the words that came out of his mouth were very unromantic. Deal with the Dark Dragon King first, and we can talk about that matter when we get back. Rejected, Shaltir pouted, her rationality returning a little. But, Lord Sig, why are you here? Of course I'm worried about you, idiot. Ah, Lord Sig, I love you the most. Why don't we just play in the air right here? Sig leaned over and covered Shaltir's mouth. If she continued talking, she would not pass the review. There were too many tricks. His other hand was already raised, so he could use his skills no matter what he did. Dragon kill, ultimate death for the first time. Chang'an Dragon King hated his own perception because he received the information too quickly, and by the time he realized what was happening it was already too late. He uttered his last words weakly before being completely swallowed up by the energy flow. Damn filth! Chapter 206. The River of Souls is also known as the place of belonging. No matter how weak a creature is, like plants, or how strong it is, like the Dragon King, they cannot escape the fate of death. This invisible river carries the souls of all things in the world and transforms the source of life into energy. Unlike the extreme practice of sacrificing life, origin magic draws energy rather than the soul itself. The dragon race is a race chosen by the will of the world. Their connection with the River of Souls is the most unique blessing, embodying the principles of cycle and symbiosis. Like the royal family of the world, dragons are born this way. No, that's not accurate either. We can only say that it used to be. I feel it. Another ancient dragon has fallen. A sigh broke the silence, seeming to come from far away, yet also as if it was right next to the ear. It was neither a young girl nor an old woman, and it could only be determined to be a woman. The giant dragon emitting silver light slowly stood up. Its scales were extremely sharp, like a row of swords, showing its unparalleled aggressiveness. Mother, when did you become so sentimental? Kunran, the turmoil of the century is coming, and this time it will be a being equal to the 8 Desire Kings. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King grinned, revealing his sharp teeth. That's a good chance to loosen up my muscles. I haven't encountered a strong opponent in a long time. The barefoot woman walked out slowly. Her beautiful face was matched by an extremely exaggerated figure, over 2 meters tall, with a pair of curved horns on her head, and soft armor woven with dragon scales that barely covered her key parts. Dragons have always been informal, and humans are not among their choices of mates. Except for a certain perverted guy, no dragon would have any strange thoughts about the current kind mother. The same was true for the Thousand-Blade Dragon King. He even found it a little confusing. Why would a loving mother give up such a strong and perfect body and become such a half-baked appearance? Perhaps because her gaze was too intense, the loving mother sighed helplessly. I have said it many times, the dragon race's body is indeed powerful, but it has its limits after all. I change my form in order to explore deeper existence. Humph, what you call a deeper level is just studying the useless soul river all day long. Now it seems that there is no result, so it is better to give up as soon as possible. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King was naturally not convinced by this statement. The original reason why he followed his loving mother was because he was defeated by her. For him, strength is the most important thing, and everything else should be put aside. The loving mother smiled slightly. She had known the Thousand-Blade Dragon King for many years and naturally understood his temper. She was just saying this out of anger. After all, she had been silent for a long time, so long that the outside world almost forgot the existence of her loving mother. I'm sorry, my friend, for keeping you company for so long. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King scratched the ground irritably, making a creaking noise. How do you want to deal with the filth of the newly emerged dragon emperors? Do you need to wake up the rotten coffin? The loving mother narrowed her eyes slightly. It had been so long that she almost forgot about that guy. The rotten coffin can also be called the rotten coffin Dragon King. However, the other party has already abandoned his identity as a dragon and transformed into an immortal, so the title of Dragon King is really not suitable for him. The original magic can only be used by sacrificing souls, which is undoubtedly an evil way. To awaken the rotten coffin requires sacrificing the soul of a nation. We must not take this step unless it is absolutely necessary. Okay, what do you want to do? The Thousand-Blade Dragon King lowered his dragon head. He was just speaking casually. After all, Xiu Guan's fighting ability is really good. He is also his old rival. He is at the same level as the Platinum Dragon King and is very difficult to deal with. The loving mother's eyes were firm. This time, I want to personally face the filth of the Dragon Emperor. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King asked doubtfully, if you want to gather intelligence, just send me. The loving mother did not answer his question. She raised her hand and a picture appeared in the air. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King widened his eyes and said in disbelief, not only was Bai Jin captured, but Chang'an is actually dead. The Platinum Dragon King is fine, but the Dark Dragon King is good at conspiracy and is very cautious. He is also very powerful. How could such a guy die? The loving mother nodded, this is the reality I see through the river of souls. It is absolutely correct. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King finally understood what his loving mother meant. The words that he was on the same level as the 8 Desire Kings were not an exaggeration. This time the filth was not something they could handle. The 8 Desire Kings almost caused the Dragon Clan to become extinct. Now that such a powerful enemy has appeared, will they still refuse to let the Dragon Clan go? If the Dragon Emperor hadn't insisted on connecting with the other world, how could we have ended up in this situation? Dragons are greedy, extremely curious, and love treasure. The loving mother looked dazed. A huge tree emitting golden light appeared in front of her eyes. Suddenly, a huge black shadow enveloped it and made an incomprehensible sound. It disappeared in a flash, leaving only the bare rock wall. The loving mother's eyes were dark, and she said softly, everything in the world has its own laws. If it is too strong, it will decline. The disasters in the world are far more than this. At the site where the Dark Dragon King fell, the portal has been opened and the mercenaries are busy dismantling the bodies and transporting them back to Nazarick in batches. Shaltir leaned on Sig, her face full of satisfaction after eating. Due to overeating, she had fallen into a deep sleep and could not wake up for a while. Lord Sig, more, The routine desire to vent after the battle was like a violent storm, and Sig almost couldn't stand it. Seeing how cute she was, he could only go along with her, after all, she was the woman he chose. He raised his hand and called the vampire bride who was waiting at the side, and ordered, send Shaltir back to her room to rest. Yes, sir. After Sig finished his instructions, he looked towards the battlefield. Jing Ke had been sent back to Nazarick to rest, so now all he had to do was clean up the battlefield. Another portal opened, and Ainz hurried out. Coming here alone, it seems Albedo can't leave without him, after all, the Holy Kingdom has not yet finished the work. President, here are your spoils. Sig raised his hand and threw it. Ainz took the golden key and almost lost his grip. The world-class item Solomon's Key is one of the strongest 20 and has the ability to summon bosses that have appeared in Yggdrasil. Although the official has limited the strength of summons for the sake of balance. But in the real world, there is no such limitation, and it is even possible to summon the real body of a world-class boss. Ainz wanted to try this outlandish idea very much, but considering that 20 could only be used once, he could only try his best to endure it. If the Dark Dragon King uses this world-class item, it will be troublesome. Sig spread his hands. Don't worry, after all, he doesn't know the information. In order to successfully summon, you must know what to summon. The name is the most basic prerequisite, and even the Key of Solomon must be followed. If you summon it randomly, it's like drawing a card, and the probability of drawing an SSR is less than 1%. The most you can do is summon a regional boss, which is equivalent to a guaranteed SR for 10 consecutive draws. If it was a Thunder Dragon or Ice Dragon, these two would be much easier to deal with, and Sig could handle them all by himself. Ainz said helplessly, "It's too risky. You are really too ambitious. So you want it? Key of Solomon. Hey, do you want to take it back?" Chapter 207. The 8th floor of Nazarick is the most mysterious level and also the last line of defense of Nazarick. This is where the members spent a lot of effort, and most of the Krypton gold points were consumed here. There was once a 1,500-man expeditionary force consisting of 8 guilds and mercenaries that quickly broke through the first 7 levels with only 300 to 500 casualties. The remaining 1,000 to 1,200 people were wiped out in the 8th level. Victim, the guardian of the tier, released a death rattle that was enough to bind everyone through self-detonation, and was eventually killed by those in the 8th tier. Those in the 8th tier are even stronger than Albedo, on par with world champions, and look like a huge burning sun. The expedition team once reported to the authorities that Nazarick had been illegally remodeled and that the NPC strength exceeded the standard. However, after the final inspection, no problems were found and the matter was left unresolved. Arriving at this area, Sig and Ainz strolled through the desert, and both recalled the past. Inside, I was quite nervous at the time. If I couldn't pass it, Nazarick might have been destroyed early. Sig smiled and said, "Those guys are really making a fuss out of nothing. Those in the 8th tier are essentially superstandard mercenaries who have reached that level of strength through the accumulation of countless amounts of money. They are not at the dungeon boss level. The feat of killing thousands of people was accomplished with the help of another person, in addition to Victim's death rattle. Without her command skills and the beneficial buffs they provided, it might not have been so easy to win. Looks like we're here." Stepping into that pink area, cherry blossoms scatter. The black-haired priestess under the tree slowly raised her head, and there stood a girl and a boy on each side. This is the Sakura Sanctuary, a special area that cannot be reached directly even by the guild ring. It is also the residence of the youngest of the 7 sisters, Aurel Omega. See the Supreme Being. Alil knelt down with the attendants on both sides. The short-haired girl wearing a fox mask is actually a monster named Yuga no Mikujin, which has reached level 85 and is good at mental magic. The boy wearing the sun mask is Danian, also a similar monster. Ainz raised his hand and said, "Stand up. I am sorry to trouble you again, Alil." Liar's eyes moved slightly, and she said sincerely, "It is my honor. The staff of Ainz Olgaun is the core of Nazarick, and there can be no mistakes. Storing it on the 8th floor is the safest way. Only the guild leader is qualified to use this scepter, and it is also Ainz's main weapon. However, he never takes it out with him and usually uses a replica. It is really hard to imagine fighting with guild weapons like the 8 Desire Kings. However, if they had not done so, Nazarick would not have had the opportunity to seize the spoils. That's right, Demiurge and Sebastian have successfully recovered the guild weapons." Ainz and Sig happened to receive this news, and returned to Nazarick with the body of the Everdark Dragon King. With Albedo in charge of the Holy Kingdom, there is naturally nothing to worry about. Sig smiled and said, "Oler, I will leave the 8 Desire King's guild weapons to you for safekeeping. I believe in your ability." O'Leary nodded in response, a blush on her face. "As you command, I will definitely not let you, Supreme Lord." Sig was a little confused. He didn't do anything, so why did he make people blush? "Sig-san." Ainz's whisper of death was heard beside him, along with his death gaze, and he immediately transformed into a pitch-black flying squirrel. Sig curled his lips and said, "That's it for now. The President and I have other things to do." Watching the departing figure, O'Leary still stood there, with reluctance in her clear eyes. Sig adult. The scene changed, and 2 figures appeared in the office on the 9th floor. Ainz almost immediately shouted, "Sig-san, what did you do again?" Sig blocked his ears in advance to avoid being disturbed, and he replied directly, "It must be because I am too charming." Quibbling, "You definitely hooked up behind my back." "Really not, there is no plot about Oleal in the previous part." The maid who suddenly appeared interrupted their conversation, "Sir Supreme, do you want me to withdraw?" Woof. An expression of human-like embarrassment and fear appeared on the dog's face, and its tail drooped behind it, obviously showing that it was very uncomfortable. Headmaid Pesni Swonk is Sebastian's direct subordinate and is responsible for managing all maids except the combat maids. Ainz coughed lightly and said, "Pesni, just pretend you didn't see what happened just now." Pesni mustered up the courage to speak, "Did you two have a quarrel, woof?" Sig smiled and explained, "Of course not, we were just fooling around. Only close friends would do this in private." "I see. Thank you, Supreme One, for clearing up my confusion." Woof. Pesni's expression improved at a speed visible to the naked eye, and her tail began to wag vigorously, just like a normal puppy. Sig himself also likes dogs very much. He suddenly had the desire to touch the one, but he suppressed this evil thought. It would be fine if it was a real pet dog, but doing that to Pesni would probably be mistaken as wanting to take her into his harem. It's despairing just thinking about that kind of scene. He just likes dogs, he's not a pervert. Ainz also took the opportunity to go down the stairs. He continued to ask, "Pesni, what brings you here this time?" Pesni said seriously, "The enemy that Lord Sebastian and Lord Demiurge encountered has been captured. We have obtained important information through her memory. We need the two supreme beings to make a decision." Woof. Sig asked, "Who is it?" The individual's name is Ligulet, and his identity is one of the 13 heroic undead envoys. Ligulet slowly opened her eyes, her head still felt dizzy, which was the after effect of having her memory spied on. Ainz's cold voice sounded from above, "Is the girl at the bottom of the sea also a player?" Ligulet raised her slightly old face, and in front of her were the undead and a man. "No, it should be said that he was a dragonborn. Your Majesty the Sorcerer King and the Holy Dragon King, I am truly flattered that these two great men would interrogate me together." Ainz exuded an aura of death, and when it came to players, he simply couldn't remain calm. "You just need to answer my questions." Sig raised his hand to stop Ainz and said casually, "Kino and Blue Rose went to the Sea City together, right?" Kino is Ibarua's real name, known only to very few people. Ligulet's pupils shrank slightly, and she sighed, "Since you have already seen my memory, why bother asking me again? Just kill me directly." Sig said calmly, "We have subdued the Platinum Dragon King. Are you sure you still want to work for him and push your former companions into the fire pit?" Ligulet's expression changed several times, and she said with a complicated look, "You are completely different from the rumors." Sig put on a smile on his face, "After all, I'm not some evil ghost, just be honest and tell me your plan." Chapter 208. Ibarua, whose real name is Kino Facilis Inbaran, is a human with rainbow eyes and is the princess of the kingdom of Inbaria. When she was 12 years old, she was attacked by an unknown entity and the whole country was destroyed in an instant. With her innate ability, she copied the enemy's soul-destroying skills, absorbed the souls of the people around her and became the ancestor of vampires. When she embarked on the journey to defeat the devil, she was still very young and cried all day long. Finally, with the help of her friends, she became a qualified hero. Although she had temporarily given up on looking for her enemy, she still couldn't let it go in her heart, and now she was just holding back. Once it was the 13 heroes, and now it is the Blue Rose. The existence of a partner is a bond. Ligulet knew very well that if she became an enemy of a leader-level being, she would most likely die if she got involved. She was old and not afraid of death, but Kino's life should not end at this time. That's why she sent the other party away in advance and gave the task of finding the underwater girl directly to Kang Qiangwei. After all, Kino's brain was not very smart. He just said to make preparations in advance and sent the people away. She stayed behind to guard the place. After all, Charles was her partner, and this was the only option she could take after weighing the pros and cons. Ligulet sighed and lowered her head, ready to be slaughtered. "This is how it is, there is no plan, you can kill me now. Memories are just pictures and cannot convey emotions." Ligulet seemed very sincere, and compared to the search of moral memory, she was not lying. Ainz had mixed feelings. He actually didn't dislike someone who cared so much about his companions. It was similar to how he admired the warrior captain. Even so, it was difficult for him to find a reason to let her go, unless she was willing to surrender. After the example of the warrior captain last time, Ainz felt that this was unlikely. Moreover, this man was clearly on the side of the Platinum Dragon King. Allies of justice were always very stubborn. Ainz looked at Sig, hoping to get some feedback from him, but he was stunned. Sig had a harmless smile on his face, but his words were very sarcastic. What a touching friendship. I wonder if Rick would think the same way in his grave. Ligulet suddenly stood up excitedly. How do you know this name? Could it be? Sig nodded. We are just acquaintances, just nodding acquaintances. Ligulet took a deep breath and calmed her surging emotions. Now that things have come to this, why are you still telling me this information? The leader wants to protect this world, and you are the destroyers. Is it enough reason that the Platinum Dragon King killed Rick? What? Ainz also shouted this in his heart. He was really confused about the situation now. Sig's expression was cold. When Rick was dying, I received the message he left behind. The Platinum Dragon King killed him in order to remove the obstacles. So, the dragon is the enemy. That's how I judge it. Ligulet frowned and said, no, that happened 200 years ago. You can't possibly know that. Sig dropped another bomb. We arrived at different times, so what's impossible? Anyway, people from the other world don't know much about the players, and it's impossible for anyone to know that they traveled through time when the game was shut down. Even if Ligulet knew about the existence of players, she would not understand the reason. As expected, Ligulet's expression changed from confusion to disbelief. She gritted her teeth and said to herself, even so, I can't believe your one-sided words. If you want to know the truth, why don't you go and ask him directly? Sig said with a smile, I've already said that the Platinum Dragon King has been captured by us. Ligulet suddenly raised her head, and tears were glistening in her old eyes. Charles, did you really do something like that? Because of the so-called hidden danger, they killed our team leader, who was our companion all the way. The cell door slowly closed, leaving Ligulet alone, leaning dejectedly against the wall. She had gradually deduced the truth from the details, but she was still unwilling to believe it. So Sig didn't continue talking to her, giving her time to think. Ainz hesitated for several seconds before finally asking, Sig-san, are you telling the truth? What's true? It's about Rick. When did you first meet him? Sig rubbed his brows. Stop, President, of course I made this up. Ainz pressed on, so the story of Riku being killed by the Platinum Dragon King was also made up. That's not the case. I just guessed it. Sig said seriously, the Platinum Dragon King is so sinister, he is not a good guy at first glance, he is definitely capable of backstabbing his companions. He clearly said he wanted to negotiate, but he blew himself up right away. Not only was he deceiving, he was also launching a sneak attack. If Nazarick had not been well prepared, it would have really fallen into the trap of this old scoundrel. Ainz was a little speechless and said, do you have the nerve to say that about others? Sig rolled his eyes, I won't attack my companions, President. Ainz was stunned for a moment, and a warm feeling flowed through the heart of the being named Suzuki Satoru. It was because of the existence of companions that he did not feel so lonely. The life of the undead is too long, and Ligulet was worried about Ibaruat, so she entrusted her to a new companion. Ainz spoke in a low voice, with the dark aura emanating from his body, those who attack their companions will never be forgiven. Sig quickly moved away, hey, why are you suddenly ignited? Shouting about friendship bonds and all that, it's just horrible. Sig touched his chin and said, however, I think the matter of Ibaruat is not that simple. There must be a backup plan. It seems that I have to go to the Sea City in person. Ainz suddenly put away his dark energy and asked, so the reason you deceived Ligulet wasn't to break the Platinum Dragon King's defense? Sig was really speechless now. What kind of person was he in Ainz's eyes? He just thought the other party was joking. As you know, memory magic cannot read memories from too long ago, and many details are not clear. Ainz can indeed manipulate memories, and he has also developed magic to search memories. Although the function is very convenient, the magic power used is very large, which makes it quite troublesome to use and can only be used as an auxiliary means of collecting intelligence. And Ligulet has been helping the Platinum Dragon King for a long time, so she must have a lot of top-secret information. It's a pity to only get this little bit out of her. We must squeeze her dry. At this point, Sig showed an extremely sinister smile, a complete villain. Ainz shuddered, being able to persecute the old man by any means necessary, it was really reassuring to have Sig as a companion. Just at this moment, Albedo's message arrived, and the content was very simple. The Holy Queen requests an audience. Chapter 209. Holy Kingdom, Holy King's Palace. The room was filled with the aroma of tea, exuding a sense of elegance. Your Majesty the Sorcerer King, Your Majesty the Holy Dragon King, I am sorry to have kept you waiting. Seeing the person pushing the door open, Carco quickly stood up, and even in his panic he did not forget to show a perfect smile. Her light blonde hair sparkled in the sunlight, and her fair skin also glowed. She was in perfect condition. That cute face is also a plus, complementing the pure white dress. Sig was also briefly stunned. The Holy Queen did have a unique charm, full of kindness and purity. It's like a piece of white paper without any color, which makes people want to dirty it. Sig quickly smiled back, Your Majesty Carco, it's a beautiful day today. It looks like something good is going to happen. Carl seemed to have received a secret signal, and his smile became visibly wider. Thank you for your good wishes. Your Majesty Carco, let's get to the point now. Ainz's response was a little colder. After all, he had to maintain his dignity, and his face was not capable of any other expression. Compared to the smiling Sig, he naturally becomes a bad character. This time he displayed his prowess in the Holy Kingdom and gained many admirers, but most of them just admired his power. No one would really like this horrible appearance. He would feel uncomfortable when looking in the mirror occasionally. As expected, Carco was startled. She glanced at Sig secretly, and after seeing the other's calm eyes, she felt much more at ease. There were only 3 people in the room, and as representatives of 3 countries, they could not lose momentum at this moment. Carco said solemnly, Your Majesty, please accept the Holy Kingdom's request for an alliance. That's a nice momentum, but what good will this do for the Sorceress Kingdom? Ainz asked calmly, making the atmosphere become much more tense. Even though Carl was well prepared, he was still a little nervous at this moment. How about full trade? The Holy Kingdom will fully cooperate with the Sorceress Kingdom. Not enough. Ainz asked directly, by the way, have you found the person who assisted the Silver Knights in the attack? Found it. I have restricted her movements. In fact, Carco didn't want to believe what she said. She always had a lucky mentality and thought that Coila would not do such a thing. She blurted out, is there a possibility that she was also deceived? Ainz said coldly, at this point, do you still want to plead for the murderer? Sig shook his head slowly, his expression becoming serious. Carl bit his lip, I know, but I want to keep her. Ainz interrupted her and said, Your Majesty Carco, I have been merciful enough. The person who spoke rudely that day has not yet been dealt with. Remedios didn't seem crazy at the time. He was logical and articulate, and he seemed to be there on purpose. Carco had nothing to say at this time. She lowered her head in silence, like a prisoner waiting for sentencing. Actually, things aren't that bad. I understand Your Majesty's thoughts of mercy, but to save those who should have died, words are not enough. I can't sell out national interests. What about deep cooperation? Your Majesty is surrounded by insects and really needs talented people to assist him. Carco's eyes moved slightly, and a best of both worlds solution was beckoning to her. Under tremendous pressure, the Saint Queen's mind became confused. If they refuse to form an alliance, their throne will be lost and the Republic will suffer. Agree to an alliance, but want to kill your best friend. The middle ground between the two is to give in and make an alliance. With His Majesty Sig as a witness, the Sorcerer King will probably not do anything to plunge the Holy Kingdom into dire straits. Perhaps the people will even be happier. As time passed, Carl finally compromised. I agree. Ainz and Sig exchanged a glance. It was done. In the end, only more than 40,000 people were killed in the conquest of the Holy Kingdom. The number of casualties was well controlled, which was really perfect. Albedo would take care of what happened next, and with the help of spies working together from both inside and outside, it was only a matter of time before the Holy Princess was deposed. The discussion was over and there was no need to continue this meeting. Before leaving, Carco suddenly said, Your Majesty Sig, could you please stay for a while? Ainz gave Sig a teasing look, then turned and left. There were only 2 people left in the house. Sig sat down calmly and jokingly asked, Your Majesty Carco left me alone. Is there something that His Majesty the Sorcerer King doesn't want to know? It's not like that. Carco quickly shook his head, crossing his arms over his chest, his cheeks flushed. Actually, I want to thank your majesty for his help. It is not easy to facilitate an alliance. Sig was surprised for a moment, but quickly regained his composure. Karl was indeed a kind person, and he thought the other party had noticed something. Always using tricks will indeed make you accustomed to speculating about others, which is probably the helplessness of conspirators. Sig put on a meaningful smile and lowered his eyes. So, Karko, how do you want to repay me? I'm sorry, I haven't thought about how to repay you yet. Karko twisted her hair in a panic. Did His Majesty Sig mean that? But she was not ready yet. If she pointed it out directly, it would be too shameless for a queen to do so. Sig picked up the teacup and took a sip. It tastes good. Karko's face lit up with a smile. If you like, drink more. I made it myself. Sig put down the cup, and Karl leaned over to pick up the teapot and refill it for him. Please. Sig was a little surprised. He didn't expect that Karko would be able to serve others so naturally. After all, nobles were rarely involved in housework. So this is the reward. No. Sig changed into a comfortable posture and leaned back on the seat, waiting for the next step calmly. Karko gritted his teeth and decided not to avoid the question anymore. He said boldly, if you are willing to accept it, I am willing to give you everything in my life. A huge dragon head smashed through the window and shouted anxiously, Master Sig, there is something wrong with the Platinum Dragon King. Sig held his forehead and said helplessly, Kake, don't be so anxious. Because of the Platinum Dragon King, the seven-colored Dragon King was also temporarily placed here and accepted the task of guarding. Sig had no intention of asking the seven-colored Dragon King to do anything. His fighting ability was not high, so he just wanted to test his loyalty. The seven-colored Dragon King took a look at the situation in the house, slowly retracted his head, and knelt on the ground respectfully, imitating the guardian's actions. The loving mother has arrived. What? Sig stood up directly, trying to control his strength so as not to crush the teacup in his hand. Karko also stood up. Although he didn't know what happened, he felt it was something very important. Sig jumped onto the back of the seven-colored Dragon King and turned around and said, Karko, we'll talk later. Your Majesty Sig. Karl looked at the figure riding the dragon away, and his heart began to beat rapidly. Is this the feeling of being moved? Chapter 210. Mother, are you here to see me laugh? The Platinum Dragon King slowly raised his head and looked towards the figure in the sky. The unique voice transmission of the true Dragon King was powerful enough to reach her ears. He abandoned his dragon body and used primordial magic to disguise himself as a half-human, half-dragon, very similar to that filth. Could it be that Sigli is also the Dragon King? Who is the player and who is the NPC? This group of filth is so cunning. The mother's voice was filled with helplessness. Char, you are too reckless. I have warned you a long time ago. There is a sense of intimacy in this address, as if an elder is scolding a child. The Platinum Dragon King said bluntly, Mother, we are on different paths and cannot work together. I hope you will not make the same mistake again. Although he didn't know what his loving mother and her men were doing specifically, being involved with that world would eventually bring about even greater disasters. His father, the Dragon Emperor, became what he is today, and the dragon race declined to this point, all thanks to the 8 Desire Kings. Although those great sinners, the 8 Desire Kings, had been killed, the Platinum Dragon King was still filled with hatred. He desperately wanted to make the Sky City fall, but the group of NPCs inside had basically gone crazy since the death of the 8 Desire Kings, just like their crazy master. Except for the angel, there is no way to communicate with the others. Letting them escape will definitely cause another catastrophe. The Platinum Dragon King can only maintain peace by using guild weapons for coercion. Now he is captured and unable to move. I don't know how Ligulet is doing. If the NPC finds out that he is not there to guard, he will be in big trouble. The best situation now is to ask the loving mother in front of me to take over and deal with the filthy matter with long-term planning. The Platinum Dragon King also realized that he would not die for a while, so he was not in a hurry to escape. The best option was to gather a force to resist. He still felt a little reluctant to ask his loving mother for help, after all, they were in opposing camps. However, the fact that the other party came here meant that he wanted to save him, so he couldn't care less about that at this moment. The Platinum Dragon King softened his tone, Mother, the situation here is not urgent. There are many guards here, and there is no benefit in fighting hard. The loving mother was silent for a moment, and finally said, I'm sorry, I didn't come here to rescue you. The Platinum Dragon King was stunned. He suddenly opened his eyes, his pupils shrank into a vertical line, and his teeth chattered with anger. You can't do this. This is betrayal. Ah, why are you suddenly going crazy? Aura pulled out the metal whip from her waist, and all the attacks from the Queen's whip fell on the Platinum Dragon King, leaving streaks of blood. The Platinum Dragon King can restore health by consuming soul power. Even if magic items can restrict it, there is no way to completely imprison it. In order to keep his health low, he needs to be attacked frequently, which is usually done by the mercenaries brought by Cocytus. Aura supervised from the side and occasionally took part in the work herself. In her eyes, dragons were upgraded versions of magical beasts. Taming a dragon is very challenging, and she is a famous trainer who never gives up. The evil dragon who wants to attack the Supreme Being will be punished. Mare cheered for his sister and swung his wooden staff to attack, just like a child playing. Only the Platinum Dragon King knew how painful Mare's attack was. While the brother and sister were busy taming the Platinum Dragon King, the ice dragons Ainz and Cocytus had already become friends. Both of them had ice attributes and it felt like they had met too late. It's so lively down there, but people's joys and sorrows are not the same, and the same goes for dragons. There was a glimmer of pity in the mother's eyes. How pitiful, Charles. The seven-colored Dragon King was flying very fast. In fact, he had never flown so fast before. His body felt light and floating, and a powerful force was surging from his body. He glanced secretly at Sig on his back and suddenly felt that surrender was not a bad thing. The Dragon Knights in this world all ride flying dragons. Dragons are always arrogant and will never allow anyone weaker than themselves to ride on their backs. It was the first time that the seven-colored Dragon King felt the power up, and he was really overwhelmed. The dual professional skills of the dragon rider and cavalry can greatly improve the attributes of the mount. Sig was just trying it out, but he didn't expect it to be successful. Although the effect is not as good as that of followers, they can still get basic buffs. It would be nice to collect more dragon servants in the future. Approaching the Platinum Dragon King's cage, Sig asked again, "Kk, are you sure it's the loving mother?" The seven-colored Dragon King immediately replied in a flattering manner, "I can be sure that I will not mistake her aura." Dragons have a strong sense of perception and do not look at appearance, but mostly identify identities based on their aura. Breath, I see. Instant armament. Sig raised his hand and in the blink of an eye he was wearing shiny black armor, with an inconspicuous spear in his hand. Passing through the clouds, the strong wind made the cloak flutter. After leaving a message for Ainz, he fully entered into combat mode. Well, let me personally meet this legendary true Dragon King. The other half's loving mother looked into the distance with a sense of realization, and her expression became serious. Is it finally here? When the loving mother arrives, I will go ahead. When Ainz received this message, he jumped up and at the same time triggered forced calm. Albedo and Demiurge happened to be reporting on their work, and both of them showed surprised expressions. They looked at each other with some confusion in their eyes. Ainz spoke very quickly, "No time to explain, enter combat mode immediately, the loving mother is here, Sig has already rushed to the battlefield." Albedo looked anxious, "Lord Ainz, please allow me to go and provide support immediately." "Calm down, Albedo." Demiurge pushed up his glasses, his diamond eyes flashing coldly. Lord Sig would never go there without any preparation. There must be a deeper meaning behind this. After this reminder, Albedo also reacted, "Could it be that this is a bait?" Demiurge nodded. "Lord Sig risked his life to buy us some time. Now is not the time to lose our composure. As expected of Lord Sig, you came up with a plan in such a short time." Albedo's eyes sparkled with love. "Sig-sama, who possesses the power to slay dragons, is indeed a perfect being." Ainz was glad that such shameful compliments were not directed at him. But he felt that Sig didn't have so many thoughts and was just itching to do something. During the Yggdrasil period, Sig loved to slay dragons. Neither the Platinum Dragon King nor the Everdark Dragon King were the main players, so naturally they did not show their strength. Sig has a resurrection item, so there is no need to worry too much, but it is still too reckless. Ainz gave the order directly, "Demiurge, the battlefield will be under your command from now on. Albedo will follow me to provide support." "Yes, sir." Chapter 211. Just as Ainz thought, Sig really wanted to have a head-on confrontation with the loving mother to test the other party's strength. This true Dragon King, who was barely mentioned in the original novel, is probably as powerful as the Platinum Dragon King, and even stronger than the Dark Dragon King. Below the Dragon Emperor is the Loving Mother, and many speculations are true. In order to verify this hypothesis, someone naturally needs to take the lead. Fighting alone, the Guardian would most likely not be able to defeat the powerful True Dragon King. Shaltir was able to defeat the Dark Dragon King so smoothly because he was a natural nemesis. If casualties are caused, the gain will outweigh the loss. But Sig is an expert in slaying dragons, so even if he can't win, he won't lose. He has a set of skills to restrain dragons and many means of saving his life. His final Dragon Man form is also capable of close combat, making him a true hexagonal warrior. It is really the most appropriate person to entrust this task to him. Sig gave a final warning in a cold voice, "Kake, this is your first battle, don't hold me back." "Yes, sir." Feeling the powerful aura of the person behind him, the seven-colored Dragon King swallowed quietly. He naturally did not dare to disobey the order. With the complete defeat of the Platinum Dragon King, the remaining rebellious spirit in his heart was also wiped out. At this moment, he was only thinking about how to behave in the future and dared not turn against his allies. No matter how strong the Loving Mother is, she can never defeat the powerful forces of Nazarick, and failure is the inevitable result. It's just that my body and soul belong to Sig-sama. It would be a pity if I died. Sig's eyelids jumped. This guy was already thinking about retreating before the fight even started. He was clearly not cut out for fighting. If the seven-colored Dragon King hadn't been able to lock onto the aura of a Loving Mother, he wouldn't have ridden this guy. He gritted his teeth and said, "Of course, I still need your help in researching the origin magic, and I will never let you die." The seven-colored Dragon King shrank his head. He felt sorry for not having enough strength or courage. "I sensed it, it's just ahead." Sig squinted his eyes and saw a blurry figure. Although the Mother Dragon's body was not seen, it cannot be ruled out that this was a bait, so there is no need to think too much about it. Just greet the other party in the True Dragon King's way. He directly ordered, "Kake, use Dragon Breath." The colorful Dragon King gave up thinking, opened his jaw, and gathered pure magic power in his mouth, which was released directly after the power was accumulated. Locking onto the target ahead, a stream of grey energy gushed out. The Loving Mother did not hide, her body emitted a faint light and she murmured obscure words in a low voice. A circular barrier was formed instantly, and the energy flow was immediately eliminated when it touched it, and was completely blocked. He actually completely blocked the True Dragon King's strongest breath head-on. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it was easy for him to do so. It was simply a naked humiliation. Origin Magic Absolute Barrier Roar. The colorful Dragon King's eyes were red, and the colorful light on his body was shining brightly, entangled with the grey dragon breath, and the energy flow became even more violent. At this time, the kinship had long been thrown to the back of his mind, and the pride of the Dragon Clan had occupied his brain. "As we are both True Dragon Kings, don't underestimate him." The barrier shook slightly and made a faint humming sound, which was a sign of impending collapse. "Kake, UBD." The Loving Mother frowned slightly and was about to continue when she was startled by someone who suddenly appeared in front of her. Upper transmission. After Sig approached, he threw Gungnir at almost zero distance, using its ability to penetrate everything to directly pierce the barrier. Then another big sword appeared in his hand. He raised it high and activated the holy power contained in it. His MP was reduced sharply and the buff of special attack against dragon species on his body took effect immediately. Holy Judgment. Death Dragon. The barrier shattered and the mother's body lost protection. Completely exposed to the two energy flows, the beautiful skin immediately disappeared and turned into a black unidentified object in the shape of a human. But she still did not die, just floating there quietly. The seven-colored Dragon King has stopped attacking. The consumption of his soul energy has prevented him from using Dragon Breath for a long time. Sig used Life Essence to check the health of the suspected mother, and found that the health bar, which had already reached the bottom, was rising rapidly. The Loving Mother did not open her mouth, but a voice came out of her mouth, "Finally found it." Origin Magic World. Peeling with the Loving Mother at the center, the world began to fade and turned into inorganic white. The alternate dimension was successfully unfolded, and Sig, who was closest to it, was also pulled in, but this was the result of his initiative. As long as you have a world-class item, effect-based origin magic will be invalid. There is no way that the Loving Mother is unaware of this, and she insists on doing this, obviously for other purposes. As for what it was exactly, Sig had no idea, so he didn't rush to escape. He also doubted whether the woman in front of him was a loving mother. Origin of magic recreation. The white cocoon wrapped the loving mother inside, and in a moment her body was repaired and restored to its original state. She slowly opened her eyes, and a voice seemed to come from all directions, "Player, I am not here to fight." Sig was not in a hurry to attack at this time, and asked directly, "Are you a loving mother?" The loving mother approached slowly barefoot, "I have abandoned my dragon body and have deeply connected with the river of souls. I can use the maximum amount of soul power. You cannot kill me." Having lost his strong physical body, he became the weakest anthropomorphic state. Although the attributes are very low, it has become a nearly immortal existence, which is another kind of strength. Sig fell into deep thought. As long as he could stop his loving mother from using the powerful origin magic, she would be just an indestructible sandbag. But if she is allowed to use it all the time, I'm afraid no one can stop her. But this is the most extreme assumption and we don't need to consider it for now. Even if the whole world's power was gathered, Nazarick could not be conquered. That was beyond doubt. Sig asked in confusion, "What is your purpose in telling me such important information?" The loving mother didn't beat around the bush and said directly, "I need the player's help to prevent the disaster from happening." Sig smiled, with a mocking arc on the corner of his mouth, "Disaster? In your eyes, aren't we a disaster?" That's a narrow-minded view. Players are not a disaster to this world. Before he knew it, the loving mother had come in front of Sig. Her 2-meter height was extremely oppressive, and her extremely exaggerated figure also came into view. This is also too big to ignore. Sig shook his head, as if something strange had entered his mind. He couldn't think about pornographic things at this time. The loving mother chuckled, "Now that I've been honest with you, why don't you introduce yourself, Mr. Player?" Sig was silent for a moment, then took off his helmet, revealing his true face. "Sig, my name. No one has mentioned my real name for a long time. 1,000 years has passed in the blink of an eye." The loving mother seemed to be lost in reminiscence. She suddenly leaned closer and put her hand on Sig's shoulder, "Tia, I specifically allow you to call me that." Sig was a little confused. This guy must have done it on purpose. "How dare you, BCH, seduce Lord Sig." Chapter 212. Albedo held the world-class item Hell's Abyss and shattered the boundary of the alien space with one axe, rushing in with great resentment. Ainz stretched out his hand to stop him, but it was of no use. Albedo directly used position exchange, swapped positions with Sig, and raised the black giant axe above her head. "You damned female lizard!" The loving mother immediately stepped back, and with the sound of breaking glass, this independent space collapsed directly. Albedo missed her attack and was about to continue chasing when she was stopped by the person behind her. "Albedo, back off!" An extremely fierce attack came from an unexpected direction. Evasion. Albedo turned around and dodged the attack with extreme ease, then flashed to the side of Ainz and Sig, taking out the pitch-black kite shield to block in front of her. Despicable fellow! A giant dragon appeared with a roar, and the dense sharp scales on its body reflected the cold light. It was the Thousand-Blade Dragon King. The loving mother stood up from the dragon's back, her tone somewhat helpless, "Kunran, I told you not to interfere." The Thousand-Blade Dragon King snorted coldly, "If I don't take action now, you will be slaughtered." Then he stared at several people with sharp eyes, and the murderous intent in his eyes grew stronger. As a true Dragon King specialized in physical attacks, the Thousand-Blade Dragon King's combat power is also top-notch. He just stands there like a sharp sword that has been tempered countless times. Albedo gnashed her teeth, how dare such a lowly creature give her such a disrespectful look. "Damn it!" Sig took a step forward, revealing a hurt expression, "Ms. Tia, why are you like this? Was the one you just told a lie?" "What?" Thousand-Blade Dragon King turned his head, his eyes almost popping out of his head, "Not only did you say your real name, you also asked him to call you by a nickname that only close friends can call you by. Don't say. Are you attracted to that filth?" "Kunran, that's enough." The loving mother rubbed her brows, and her eyes looking at Sig became a little resentful. She was very sure that the man did it on purpose. She originally just wanted to make use of her beauty to achieve her goal, but she ended up shooting herself in the foot. Times have indeed changed. "Who is the old fox who has lived for 1,000 years?" she said in a deep voice, "I am not lying. The real disaster is about to come. The world has entered the countdown to destruction." Ainz did not rush to take action in order to gather intelligence. He asked calmly, as you said, what is the real disaster? The loving mother's voice trembled slightly, that is the legacy of the Dragon Emperor. It is a dark shadow that follows living beings and devours the world. It is the real source of disaster. Sig and Ainz looked at each other, and saw fear in each other's eyes. Players can travel to this world, and other beings may naturally come as well. In Yggdrasil, the only one who fits the description of the loving mother is the legendary final boss, the enemy of the world, the Nine-Light World Devourer. The Nine-Star World Devourer, also known as Nine Stars, is the official final boss. It gained great power by devouring the leaves of the world tree. In the end, only 9 leaves were left, which are the source of the 9 worlds. In order to protect their own world, players continue to become stronger on an unknown journey, with the ultimate goal of defeating this greedy monster. Jiao is undoubtedly a monster written in the background story of the game, and is also the existence with the deepest obsession with Yggdrasil. Did the monster that desires to devour leaves arrive by chance like the player, or did it come here in search of the world-class item made from the fallen leaves of the world tree? Assuming that the loving mother did not lie, when Jiao descends, I am afraid that this world will be swallowed up by him. Even if the great tomb of Nazarick could resist by chance, how could there be any point in ruling such a barren land without any life? Ainz pondered for a moment, then asked seriously, why was there no sign? The coming of 9 stars is definitely not something that can be achieved overnight, and it should be noticed by more than one person. The loving mother sighed, Sig, you should know why. Sig recalled his mother's words and suddenly understood what she meant. You said you wanted to stop it because it's not time for it to come yet. The loving mother nodded and finally smiled, that's right, the exact time is the next 100 years. Even if Jiao is the strongest boss beyond the players, it must abide by the rules of 100 years of turmoil. For a dragon, 100 years is indeed very short, but Sig and Ainz were once humans, and 100 years feels very long to them. But in any case, the exact time is already in front of us. Demiurge has already planned what the Sorceress Kingdom will be like 1,000 years from now. 100 years of existence would be too short. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King watched as a few people whispered and seemed to have reached a consensus. He was so angry that his mouth was almost crooked. He was actually being ignored. No matter what comes, isn't the power of the true Dragon King enough? Why should we beg these filthies in a humble way? Sig looked at the Thousand-Blade Dragon King with some pity. This guy was truly ignorant and fearless. The world enemy is a super monster unique to Yggdrasil, and is far from being comparable to the true Dragon King at the regional boss level. Facing the enemy of the world, even if 6 players of the maximum level form a 6-person team, a total of 36 players of the maximum level, the chances of successfully challenging are very low. That is the existence of a monster called the Balance Destroyer. This is true for enemies in other worlds, not to mention the strongest 9 stars. Albedo snorted coldly, her murderous intent overflowing. How dare a mere true Dragon King be so rude? The atmosphere, which was originally quite good, became tense again due to the tit-for-tat between the two sides. The loving mother was obviously dissatisfied, but she couldn't immediately change the Thousand-Blade Dragon King's mind. Ever since the battle with the 8 Desire Kings, Dragon's attitude towards players has always been like this: he can't wait to kill them as soon as he sees them. Even she had some resentment in her heart, but she didn't show it on the surface. It is obviously impossible for the Dragon Clan to fight against the monsters that destroy the world with its current strength alone, and it is necessary to rely on the power of the players. Through long-term observation, she could confirm that the filth that descended this time was not from the 8 Desire Kings. After all, those who are kind-hearted like the 6 gods and Rick are a minority. Those who can control their desires can be negotiated with. The arrival of players to the Dragon Clan is indeed a bad thing, but for other races, it is also an opportunity. The Dragon Clan has controlled the world for too long, it's time to change the dynasty. Let's end our meeting here today. I will wait for your reply, but please don't make me wait too long. With the playful ending tune, the loving mother winked at this side just before being teleported away, and it felt like she was flirting. Sig shuddered. His loving mother was a dragon that had lived for more than 1,000 years, and it was too awkward for her to make such a move. He couldn't express his joy, but he felt a chill as if he was being stared at, as if he had overlooked something. President, you. Turning around, he saw Ainz with his mouth wide open, his jaw almost falling off. Sig-san, I'm beginning to admire you. Albedo rushed over and said, Master Sig, don't look at that SY female dragon. Now it was Sig's turn to be troubled. None of these guys were reliable, and no one knew where Cocytus had gone. Chapter 213. Buzz. The sharp claws tore through the space, the huge body smashed down, and the ground shook violently. This is the base of the Mother's forces. Only a very small number of Dragon Kings know its location, and only those who rely on the original magic can enter. As the right-hand man of the loving Mother, the Thousand-Blade Dragon King can naturally come and go freely. At this time, the two true Dragon Kings, who were both superiors and subordinates and old friends, had their first crisis of trust. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King said very seriously, "Tiamat, I need a reason. Don't fool me with the idea of saving the world." As the mother of evil dragons and a natural-born king of the five-headed dragon clan, the strength of the loving mother is recognized to be powerful, almost second only to the Dragon Emperor. Although the Platinum Dragon King is also very powerful, he is considered a second-generation dragon. Not only is his prestige far inferior to that of his mother, but in the eyes of many ancient dragons, he is more like a young boy. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King follows his loving mother because he truly respects her and does whatever she wants. He understood that the power of the Dragon Clan was not enough to fight against the monsters in that position, but was it really necessary to be so humble and even use physical temptation? Dragons are born powerful, so they have stronger self-esteem and pride than other creatures, and will never allow themselves to surrender. The loving mother's eyes were slightly cold. "Qinren, I have said that this is just a necessary means to achieve the goal." The Thousand-Blade Dragon King was not afraid. There was indeed a gap in strength between the true Dragon Kings, but it was actually very difficult to kill each other. "Are you really attracted to that filth? Even if he is a dragonborn, he is not a real dragon. You said it was to achieve a goal. Does that mean he wants to mate with you, and you're willing?" As soon as the words fell, the empty palace fell silent. Qinren knew that he had said too much and suppressed his anger. "Sorry, I made a mistake." The loving mother's expression remained unchanged, and she simply replied, "Yes, what's the harm in a mere flesh and blood? For the future of the dragon race, it is nothing. In fact, if an offspring can stabilize the relationship between the two parties, she will open her legs without hesitation." The Thousand-Blade Dragon King felt like he had received 10,000 critical hits, and he didn't react at all. What does this have to do with the future of the dragon race? The loving mother glanced at her subordinates and sighed slightly inwardly. The fighting ability of Qinren Dragon King is indeed strong, but he is obsessed with pursuing power and is not really smart. "Do you know Dragon Rider? Those guys riding flying dragons? There are dragon knights in both the dragon tribe and the council nation. This is nothing unusual, it is just a combination of the weak." The loving mother shook her head. "I mean the dragon riders who fight alongside the dragons, not the pseudo-dragons like flying dragons. There is not only a difference in size between flying dragons and dragons, but also a huge difference in strength. They are just inferior distant relatives. Apart from its speed, it has no special features and may even become food for some powerful monsters." "How could there be?" The Thousand-Blade Dragon King was suddenly stunned. He recalled the uncomfortable figure. Cocytus just surrendered to filth, but it doesn't mean that the person named Sig is the Dragon Knight. After all, riding a dragon is not impossible. I was just guessing before, because the information conveyed by the Soul River was scattered and trivial, until I felt the power of the seven colors become significantly stronger." The loving mother smiled. She recalled the shock of being swallowed by the dragon's breath. That feeling could not be wrong. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King was shocked and said, "Even if he is a Dragon Knight, so what? Do we have to hand the Dragon Clan directly to that person? What does a mere filthiness and an identity represent? You are too naive, Qinren." The Thousand-Blade Dragon King became even more anxious at the mother's coaxing tone. What did he say wrong again? Given the trend of the dragon race's development, how far do you think it is from extinction? Qianren was choked for a moment. To be honest, he had never thought about this question. Ever since the disappearance of the Dragon Emperor, the Dragon Clan has been in disarray. Coupled with their own habits, it is even more impossible for them to unite. The ancient dragons who mastered the original magic prided themselves on being powerful, and the new generation of dragons did have the potential to grow to the limits of their race, but most of them could not surpass their parents. Although various races suffered shocks, many of them grew stronger with the help of external forces. Of course, the dragon race is still powerful and has absolute suppression power over all races, but what if they become enemies with the players? Shirogane, like his father, is naive and arrogant. The so-called protection of the world is nothing more than playing house. He relies on justice to judge right and wrong without caring about the consequences. It is because of this that no true Dragon King is willing to follow him. It was the first time that the Thousand-Blade Dragon King saw his mother like this, and he didn't know how to respond for a moment. The loving mother smiled compassionately, "So, do you understand? A dragon knight with dragon blood is as important as a bridge." After passing through the illusion of map of mountains, rivers, and states, an old woman wearing a hood finally arrived at the location of the Platinum Dragon King. The shackles were bound to the dragon's body, and the glittering scales were no longer as colorful as before. The ground was dyed blood red, and the whole body exuded a grey feeling of death. But there was no doubt that he was still alive, and those people were not deceiving themselves. Ligulet looked at her miserable old friend with a complicated expression and greeted him as usual, "Char, long time no see." Hearing the familiar voice, the Platinum Dragon King opened his eyes in disbelief. "Ligulet, why are you here?" "Guild weapons." "Char, I need you to answer a question for me." There was obvious disappointment in Ligulet's eyes. She finally asked the question she had rehearsed countless times in her mind, "Did you kill the leader?" The Platinum Dragon King's pupils trembled violently, and he almost immediately looked away, not daring to look into those old yet determined eyes. "Why do you ask that? You just have to answer yes or no. Those who feel guilty will definitely escape." Ligulet actually already had the answer, but she still wanted to hear the other party's answer. After a long silence, the Platinum Dragon King finally spoke, but he only said calmly, "Filthy, absolutely untrustworthy." Ligulet took half a step back and almost lost her balance. She gave a bitter smile, "You did it after all. I misjudged you. So you've also surrendered to the filth, Ligulet." The Platinum Dragon King's eyes at this moment were terrifying, and his gentle tone was no longer there. This was his hidden side. "You are too horrible to say such things to a companion who is willing to die." Sig walked out slowly and looked at the Platinum Dragon King with a smile. Ligulet no longer had the heart to argue. She nodded hastily and left. The Platinum Dragon King was in a very complicated mood at this time, with anger, hatred, and regret intertwined. In the end, it just turned into complete indifference and he simply closed his eyes. He looked as if communicating with Sig was like dirtying his mouth. Sig didn't care about such small details. He just asked, "What kind of existence is a loving mother in your eyes?" The Platinum Dragon King remained unmoved. "In fact, she's currently courting me." The Platinum Dragon King's eyelids moved slightly. "It's really embarrassing that she needs our help to get to this point. Should we give her a chance?" The Platinum Dragon King opened his eyes directly, "Mother, she wants to use your power to control the dragon race, don't get her wrong. The person who knows you best is definitely your enemy." The Platinum Dragon King and the kind mother have always been in opposition. Both sides have their own reasons for not wanting to compromise. Simply put, they look down on each other. But he couldn't stand being slandered by outsiders. "I see. Thank you for the information. When will I give you?" The Platinum Dragon Queen realized it later, and because of the rapid flow of blood, a red color appeared on her face. Vile filth. Chapter 214. It's really strange. This is the first time I see Long Hungwen. Hearing this undisguised teasing, the Platinum Dragon King's eyelids jumped and the corners of his mouth twitched. Compared to the team leader Rick, Sig is at the other extreme and is very unfriendly. Was he really wrong to backstab his companion who trusted him unconditionally? The Platinum Dragon King fell into a brief moment of confusion, but quickly pulled himself out of it. He had already made up his mind, so how could he regret it now? "Sigli, what exactly do you want to do?" "Just call me Sig, Char." The Platinum Dragon King was somewhat averse to such intimate titles. In his eyes, filth was equivalent to evil, and communication was a luxury, let alone being like friends. "Be honest, what is your race?" Sig said directly, "It's a dragon man. It's somewhat related to the dragon clan." "Dragon man? You can think of it as a humanoid dragon. Of course, compared to a real dragon, its attributes are still quite different. It is classified as an alien species. I am not too sure about their blood relationship." The Platinum Dragon King had a suspicious look in his eyes, but after the other party helped him answer his questions, he did relax a lot. "I am the son of the Dragon Emperor, the Platinum Dragon King. It seems that you are indeed a player. Very good, that's enough for us to communicate. I came here to tell you some news." Sig had a smile on his face, like a cunning fox, making it impossible to see his true thoughts. The Platinum Dragon King felt a little uncomfortable and said directly, "Sig, you can speak frankly, but that sword is not something you can control at will. We have learned about the guild weapons of the 8 Desire Kings from Ligulet." Sig shrugged his shoulders. He had known about it a long time ago, of course, but Nazarick did learn about it through this channel, so it wasn't a lie. A hint of understanding flashed across the eyes of the Platinum Dragon King, and he said coldly, "There is an angel in that sky city. He is a being that can communicate." Sig was a little surprised. "You are so kind. Don't get me wrong, I just don't want to cause any harm to anyone, and you definitely don't want to have another enemy." The Platinum Dragon King had mixed feelings. Although he didn't want to admit it, Sig and his crew were obviously more rational than the 8 Desire Kings. At least they would not kill innocent people indiscriminately. If the weapons of the 8 Desire Kings are not properly handled, it will probably cause great chaos. Those NPCs are not good people. Haha, so you have this kind of personality, how awkward. Sig couldn't help but laugh. He was clearly trying to show weakness and seek peace, but he was still putting on airs. This is the pride of the true Dragon King. It seems that the training during this period has been useful. Aura and Mare are very capable. I heard that they handed in a lot of dragon scales and plan to make new clothes. Shut up. The Platinum Dragon King was really angry and humiliated. It was too humiliating that he was repeatedly ridiculed by the being he hated the most. Anyway, thank you for letting me know. Sig restrained his smile. Considering that he had obtained a lot of information this time, he mercifully told the Platinum Dragon King a fact. The Council of Ministers is about to perish because its own lifetime councillors are trying to kill the monarch of another country. What? You have already achieved your goal. The Platinum Dragon King shouted loudly and pulled the chains excitedly, making a rattling sound. Don't be rude to Lord Sig. Aura popped out from nowhere, pulled out the Queen's Whip and performed 5 consecutive hits, quite skillfully. Mare trotted over, panting heavily, "Lord Sig, please stand back a little, and I will teach the dragon a lesson." On the surface, it was a private conversation, but in fact, the two of them had been waiting nearby. After all, the Platinum Dragon King had not been tamed yet, and the safety of the Supreme Being had to be put first. Sig made an invitation at the right time. "Char, do you want to submit to me? I can agree to your request within a reasonable range. Of course, we need to attack the review country, but there is more than one choice of process and method. The Platinum Dragon King is very powerful, has a special status and is the son of the Dragon Emperor, so he is indeed worth taming." The Platinum Dragon King howled in agony, "You are dreaming, you vile filth. After all, things have returned to the starting point. It will still take some effort to make the true Dragon King surrender." Sig sighed, "What a shame, don't you think, Kk?" As if it was planned, the 7-colored Dragon King also appeared. He fell to the ground and showed a look of complete submission. "It is just as you said, Lord Sig." The Platinum Dragon King was so angry that his whole body was shaking, his eyes were red, and he was almost on the verge of collapse. They are all traitors. First it was his loving mother, then it was Ligulet, and now they are telling him that the 7-colored Dragon King has also rebelled. These guys are really nice. The 7-colored Dragon King had already made plans, so he naturally had no psychological burden. "Platinum, following Lord Sig is the right path." "Kk, what nonsense are you talking about?" The Platinum Dragon King spat out a mouthful of blood. He was so angry that he spoke without thinking. "What I said is true. Mother also wants to end the war." The 7-colored Dragon King quietly swallowed his saliva, and then said righteously, "Compared with the future of the Dragon Clan, your persistence is meaningless, and will only put the Dragon Clan into an unjust situation." Sig looked at the 7-colored Dragon King with a little surprise. It seemed that he could not say such words, which was not in line with his character. The Platinum Dragon King's claws were deeply embedded in the ground. He simply closed his eyes, lay on the ground and said nothing more. Now that things have come to this, there is no need for further communication. After issuing the order to transport the Platinum Dragon King back to Nazarick, Sig left immediately. The purpose of his trip had been achieved. The loving mother has already been lured out, and it would be a waste to deploy too much combat power here. The Holy Kingdom, the palace where the Holy Dragon God temporarily resides. "Thank you for your hard work, Sig-san." Ainz watched the entire process through the telephoto lens and was the first to greet them. There were only 2 people in the room, so Sig didn't have to worry about his image and just slumped down on the sofa. What a hassle. I've received too much information and need to sort it out. Ainz wondered, why not just kill the Platinum Dragon King? Sig glanced at Ainz. There was nothing in those dark eyes except the desire for the high-quality materials from the dragon. It's just for insurance. Mother said that she can be closely connected to the River of Souls. She came here so quickly. I think it has something to do with Chang'an's death. If the Platinum Dragon King died, unnecessary accidents might occur because he knew too many things. Sig dared to tell Baijin his identity, and he did not intend to give him the chance to tell others. Ainz stroked his chin. I see. It is indeed easier to control someone alive than dead. Sig laid back down and changed to a more comfortable position. The full alert status of Nazarick has been lifted, but what do you think about the matter of the loving mother, President? Ainz said solemnly, we can consider it. After all, the 9 luminaries are indeed difficult to deal with, and we cannot protect ourselves from them. Haha, since she needs help, she can't hinder us from conquering the world. Sig and Ainz smiled at each other, and then it was time to move forward with all their strength. The Holy Kingdom has just been conquered, and the Council Kingdom is also in our pocket. Does His Majesty Sig have time tonight? After the two finished their conversation, a soft female voice sounded, making the atmosphere strange. Chapter 215. Please, for gods, grant me strength. Carco clenched his hands tightly, his palms were sweating with nervousness, and his cheeks were tinged with pink. She had already dismissed her servants in advance and was standing alone outside the door, still wearing the pure white high-slit dress. If the news of her knocking on the door of a man at night were to get out, those southern nobles would surely spread rumors that she was dissolute and too lustful. But at this time, Karki didn't want to care about so many things. After being a queen for so many years and following the rules, she finally met a man she liked, so naturally she had to take the initiative. Whether it is Albedo or Juisa Huming, their beauty is unquestionable, and it is easy for them to fall in love with each other over time. His Majesty Sig is so outstanding that he must have no shortage of suitors around him. If the other party leaves, then she will have no chance at all. The door creaked open, and what came into view was that handsome face that seemed to be coated with a layer of soft light. Your Majesty Carco. Carl couldn't help but reveal his infatuated look. After realizing what was happening, he quickly lowered his head shyly. I heard that His Majesty is leaving. Sig nodded. Well, the Platinum Dragon King has completed the complete seal, and the alliance is progressing smoothly. I must return to the theocracy. However, this matter has not yet been passed on to the Holy Kingdom, and Carl should not know about it so soon. Could it be, Albedo? Carco's next words confirmed Sig's guess, and she showed just the right amount of shyness. It was Lord Albedo who told me that we got along very well. She uses a strategy that no woman can resist, that is beauty magic, and reveals the secret to maintaining smooth and delicate skin. In order to maintain a perfect state at all times, beauty is also essential, especially for most women. Things went more smoothly than she thought, and Albedo was indeed a very nice person, completely reversing her initial impression. Sig was a little confused. This matter was not in line with Albedo's character. He would have to ask about it in detail later. Well, why don't you invite me in? I haven't thanked you yet. Carco pulled Sig back to his senses. She blinked, her deep blue eyes seemed to contain a pool of spring water, and her long legs wrapped in white stockings had already moved halfway. Faced with such blatant temptation, quite bold for the Holy Queen, Sig was of course willing to take the bait. Please come in, Your Majesty Carco. As the door slowly closed, there was no one else in the silent room. Ainz had already left tactfully. He did not want to be a light bulb. A single man and a single woman are in the same room, and an ambiguous atmosphere spreads. Carco's heart was beating like a drum, and even pressing his hand on his chest did not relieve it. Your Majesty Sig, I am willing to give everything in my life to repay your kindness. Please. Before he could utter any words of affection, he was interrupted by Sig. Sig reached out and held the soft body in his arms. SHH, I should be the one to bring up this kind of thing. Carco raised his head, stood on tiptoe, and put his rosy lips close to hers, as carefully as if he was treating his own god. Even though the Saint Queen was a rare magical genius, she was also the weakest among the many concubines in the harem, and her body was weaker than that of an ordinary warrior. Sig didn't dare to use any force, for fear of accidentally breaking the waist of the person in his arms, so he could only let the other person complete this extremely gentle kiss. Carl was breathing heavily and his legs were weak. If he hadn't been held, he would have fallen. Sig chuckled, picked her up, and laid her on the bed fairly gently. In the moonlight, Carco's long golden hair seemed to be glowing, and her fair skin had completely turned pink. She obediently raised her feet and watched her white stockings being slowly taken off, the restlessness in her heart becoming more and more intense. But Sig stopped at this moment and asked solemnly, "Carco, won't you regret it? Even if you are not my only woman." Carl stretched out his hands, tears hanging from the corners of his eyes. "At least at this moment you belong to me alone, that's enough. Being able to be together with the person who saved me is simply a fairy tale story. I don't want to ask for more. It doesn't matter even if we can be lovers underground." Sig wiped away Carco's tears, with a smile on his face. "You can get married. The laws of the church allow polygamy. Will you marry me?" For Carco, who has always wanted to get married, how could she refuse the proposal at this time? "Yes, I do." The next morning, the sun had already risen. The diligent Saint Queen didn't have the strength to get up. This was obviously a bit too intense for her as it was her first time. Sig didn't bother her and went out alone. Although this place is the territory of the Holy Kingdom, Nazarick has almost infiltrated it, just like its own backyard. "Master Sig, how are you?" Albedo seemed to have been waiting in the corridor for a long time, and gave a sincere greeting when they met. With her beautiful face and almost perfect smile, it was impossible to tell whether she was an angel or a devil. Sig couldn't help but laugh. "Albedo, thank you for your hard work in every aspect. It is my honor to share Lord Sig's worries." Although she spoke seriously, Albedo's smile could no longer be suppressed. She was too happy, the corners of her eyes were red, and her wings began to move restlessly. Sig quickly changed the subject, "But, you actually helped Carco, can you tell me why? Although the Saint Queen is just a human, her beauty magic is quite useful. Not only can it maintain her appearance, but it can also significantly improve the quality of the parchment on the ranch. Besides, as a qualified wife, it is also part of your job to find a concubine that your husband likes." Albedo quietly hid her true thoughts. She did feel that there was no difference between humans and livestock, but the Holy Queen shared the same views on love, so she allowed her to become a concubine. Since she had acknowledged that Lord Sig's charm was unparalleled, she naturally had to give him some face. But the one who loves Lord Sig the most is only Albedo, and she will never allow other women to interfere, so she couldn't say it. "I see. You've really thought it through." Seeing that Sig believed this reason, Albedo slowly approached with a secret feeling. "But, Lord Sig, who is your favorite person?" For a man with a harem, this is obviously a life-threatening question, involving the issue of new favorites and old loves. But Sig did not hesitate, he already had the answer in his mind. "My favorite is of course the person who fell in love with me first, Albedo." Although it may feel a bit confusing at first, and Albedo's love comes from the modification of the settings, you don't need to think too much about matters of the heart. Albedo's face was filled with joy that could not be concealed, and she rushed forward and said, "Lord Sig." Sig shook his head helplessly, but he was still a little bothered by the fact that it was too fierce. "If no one comes to interrupt at this moment, I'm afraid a scene inappropriate for children will be played out on the spot." He caught a glimpse of a familiar figure from the corner of his eye. "Pavel, you are here to report on your mission, right?" Chapter 216. Greetings to Master Sig, Master Albedo. Too embarrassed, Pavel almost stumbled out from behind the pillar, not knowing where to put his ferocious eyes. Albedo sighed slightly, but she quickly got into work mode and returned to her dignified appearance. As the chief guardian, it goes without saying that he must be professional and put official business first. She asked coldly, "Pavel Baraha, what do you want to report?" Pavel swallowed his saliva quietly. Albedo's aura was indeed powerful. She was worthy of being the top warrior. If it weren't for his good psychological quality, he would have been panic-stricken and made a fool of himself by now. The Custodio sisters are currently imprisoned in the mansion, awaiting their fate. As the saying goes, you can escape the death penalty, but you can't escape the punishment of living punishment. The condition for the establishment of the covenant is to protect the two sisters, but they certainly cannot be left the same as before, otherwise all the previous efforts to alienate them would be in vain. The fastest way to take over a country is to control its monarch. The Custodio sisters were completely manipulated and didn't even realize they were being tricked. The mansion had actually been infiltrated long ago, and the reckless servant was actually a double phantom. Using hatred to plan, everything comes from people's desires. Xiaodai is indeed a master at playing with people's hearts. Kako is kind-hearted, but Koirat is too calculating, and Remedios is brave but not wise, only wanting to solve problems with violence. Having them assist the queen is not conducive to the governance of the country, so they should be removed from their posts and demoted to commoners. Sig decided the fate of the two people nonchalantly. There was no need to worry too much about people who posed no threat. Death was just a relief. Letting them live and serving as a punching bag for the people to vent their dissatisfaction is also a good use of their resources. Pavel had thought Sig would instruct him to quietly eliminate the two men, but he had not expected this way of handling the matter. His broad-mindedness was truly admirable. He felt more and more that his choice was right, that the Holy Kingdom was on the right track, and that everything would be fine. "I will obey the holy order," Sig said with a smile. "No need to be polite, Pavel, you have shown your worth, and now it is time to realize your wish. In fact, Nia and your wife are already on their way and will arrive at the Holy Kingdom soon." Pavel suddenly raised his head, his eyes quickly moistening. This tough man actually shed tears after hearing the news about his wife and daughter. "Thank you for your mercy." Albedo smiled and said, "Remember to maintain your loyalty, or mercy can withdraw it at any time. This is both a warning and a reminder." Pavel naturally nodded his head in agreement, with no intention of disobeying him at all. After all, saving his wife's life was already a miracle for him, and reuniting the family was the most important thing. As for his personal stance, since he had already sworn allegiance to Nazarick, he would not have any other thoughts. Ninja is a good kid. She may achieve more than you in the future. I understand your fatherly heart, but you still have to give your child the freedom to choose. Sig's words made his father Pavel feel ashamed. He actually had no intention of making Nia a great warrior. As a lovely girl, it would be nice to marry a good man and live a stable life. It was normal for Pavel to think this way, but this might not be what Nia wanted, which led to the rift between father and daughter. "Thank you for your reminder, Lord Sig. My wife and daughter are both dead. Would it cause trouble if we appeared in front of everyone?" Although Pavel wanted to see his wife and daughter very much, he could not ignore the impact, so he could still wait. "It's not a difficult matter. Karl will handle it properly." Sig originally wanted to use the double phantom, but now that Karl is his own person, it is naturally much more convenient. The Holy Queen has great prestige in the Holy Kingdom, and no one dares to question her words. Pavel was a little confused. Calling someone by their first name was something only close people could do. Could it be that? Given Lord Sig's excellence, it was not surprising that the Saint Queen fell for him, but it happened so quickly. He is truly an unfathomable man. Sig had seen this familiar look in many people's eyes before, it was just another fanatical follower. After dealing with Pavel's matter, my trip to the Holy Kingdom came to a brief end. Now it was time to get busy with other things. After Pavel left, Albedo went to work, and Sig summoned another human, the poor fellow who had been deceived by the Platinum Dragon King. The once energetic Ligulate seemed to have aged several years overnight, and her weathered eyes were filled with complex sorrow. From her current appearance, we can actually see that she was also a beauty when she was young, but time is too cruel. In fact, Ligulate is a few years older than the vampire Ibruat. It is a miracle that she has lived to 260 years old as a human being. "What do you want to ask?" Before Sig could ask, Ligulate took the initiative to speak. Compared with before, this time she was indeed a little too aware of the current situation. In fact, this is not difficult to understand. After seeing the miserable state of the Platinum Dragon King, she naturally understood the gap in strength between the two sides. Even if the girl at the bottom of the sea wants to help, there is a high probability that she won't win, so it's better to just admit defeat. After suffering such a degree of deception, Ligulate no longer wanted to participate in this war and just wanted to find a place to retire in peace. But before that, she also wanted to fight for her companions one last time. "I will tell you everything I know, but Kenyo and Keng Qiangui are just following orders. I hope you can spare their lives." Sig did not answer, but only asked, "How much do you know about the girl sleeping in the sea?" "I don't know much about her. Most of the information comes from the oral account of Char, Platinum Dragon King. She was only active for a short period of time at the beginning of her advent. She helped the residents along the coast to eliminate many evil monsters." Some people even built a statue to worship her. But after that, she took the initiative to fall into a deep sleep, as if she was waiting for someone. Ligulet didn't hide anything and told everything she knew. Of course, it is impossible to confirm the identity based on this information alone, but Sig had already guessed it, and now it can be regarded as a verification, and we only need to find points that meet the requirements. What are her personal characteristics? Ligulet spread her hands and said, I don't know her name, but she should be human. She is very beautiful, and probably an elf. If you want to know more detailed information, you have to pry open the person's mouth. There's no way to get anyone to say anything because the purpose is too obvious. Given how stubborn the Platinum Dragon King is, he will never tell anyone even if you kill him. That's all the information I know, but I can't tell you the exact location yet. And I also need to know what you want to do. Ligulet naturally kept a trick up her sleeve. She had no choice but to do so. When a person loses his usefulness, it is time for him to die. She didn't care much about her own life, but she didn't want to harm Kang Qiangwei. Sig understood very well, so he was not angry. It's okay to tell you, that girl might be my old friend. Ligulet was stunned. Old friend. Sig smiled unconsciously. Well, a girl who likes puppy love. Chapter 217. Although the dragon's attack did not cause much damage, it involved the safety of His Majesty the Holy King, which was obviously no trivial matter. After all, there were more than 1,000 people who had experienced it personally, and because the news was not blocked, the incident quickly spread across the country. As for the failed war, there is naturally a new version. Many people speculate that all of this is a conspiracy by the evil dragon. He wants to take advantage of the opportunity to provoke a war between the Holy Kingdom and the Sorceress Kingdom so that he can reap the benefits. Soon, news spread that the evil dragon was a lifelong counselor of the Council of States, and everything had a better explanation. Among them, the leader of the Paladins, Remedios Custodio, and the High Priest of the Temple, Quilat Custodio, were also punished for their involvement. The former deliberately provoked the Sorcerer King, indirectly causing the casualties of nearly 50,000 soldiers. The latter attracted the evil dragon, which almost killed the monarchs of the three kingdoms and triggered a war. They had committed unforgivable capital crimes, but Her Majesty the Saint Queen was merciful and magnanimous. Taking into consideration the many years of loyalty they had rendered to the country, she pardoned their death sentences and therefore offset their merits and demerits. Through various operations, the hatred was smoothly transferred to the review country. In the eyes of the world, dragons are not good beings, and their powerful force mostly brings killing and death. The Council Nation is not only ruled by the Dragon Clan, but is also a multi-ethnic country in a pagan-like existence. In contrast, the Sorceress Kingdom not only has the Holy Dragon King, who is a descendant of dragons, who jointly holds power, but the Sorceress King also fights bravely against dragons to protect his people. Such a just act is truly admirable. There was no harm in forming an alliance between the Holy Kingdom and the Sorceress Kingdom, as they immediately gained a reliable ally. It is foreseeable that the future of the Holy Kingdom will get better and better, which is something to be happy about, but Carco fell into sadness. Because today is the day of departure. At the east gate of the royal capital, a low-key yet luxurious carriage was parked there, and a farewell ceremony was being held. It was not difficult to see from the cheers of the people that this trip was indeed a great success. Even though Ainz appeared in the form of a skeleton, it did not dampen the enthusiasm of the crowd. Sig deliberately lowered his presence. This time he wanted Ainz to be in the spotlight. Reputation is something that needs to be managed well. This time, the Platinum Dragon King not only sacrificed himself, but also made a significant contribution to the completion of the plan, so he can be considered a hero. Just for this reason, there is no problem in saving his life. Your Majesty Sig, I will always wait for you. Even though she already knew she would leave, Carco's heart was still filled with reluctance, and she finally couldn't help but speak out her true feelings. Pavel was closer, so he could see the strange atmosphere. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he always felt that there seemed to be a sense of déjà vu between the Holy Queen and Lord Sig, like a newlywed wife sending her husband on a long journey. Because it was a public occasion, Sig did not do anything too intimate. He just smiled and promised, I will discuss matters concerning the Council State with His Majesty the Sorcerer King when I return this time. If things go well, we will see each other again soon. This is also the reason why only one carriage was prepared. The two of them will go to the Sorceress Kingdom together. On the surface, the two reconciled after fighting together and appeared to have no grudges against each other, but in fact, they were just looking for an excuse. Karl's eyes were firm. As long as it is your wish, I will definitely do it, even if... Don't say that, I believe you. Looking at that almost perfect handsome face, Karl couldn't help but think of the madness of that night. Her heart beat very fast for a moment, and she was completely fascinated. It is really true that women in love are always very impulsive. Sig moved a little closer and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, and I won't let go of scaring Karko. You are my woman. Karko's lips curled up, his cheeks turned red, and even his voice became a little coquettish. Your Majesty. Sig smiled and didn't explain much. From a secular definition, Karko is undoubtedly a good woman, but she is also a little too kind. Sig didn't tell the truth, not because he was playing with the other person's feelings, but because he felt that this was enough. After all, not everyone has the willpower to fight to the death. If Karl knew that the person he loved was so insidious, he would definitely have a mental breakdown. Therefore, the best outcome is to conceal the truth completely and keep her in a carefully crafted dream. Compared to the sword of the Holy Queen in the original work, this is considered a good ending. Lord Sig, it's time for us to set off. Albedo walked over. No matter how many times I had seen her, her stunning beauty never seemed real, enough to make other women pale in comparison. Even though Karko was considered a beauty and had the title of the Holy Kingdom's treasure, she would still be a little envious of her. And the two of them standing together really looked like a perfect match. Albedo looked over as if she had sensed something and smiled gently. Your Majesty Karko, I look forward to seeing you next time. Karl realized that he had been staring for too long, and nodded quickly. Sir Albedo, I am looking forward to it too. Sig walked to the side of the carriage and a small figure came into view. It was Ziza who had completed her mission. Ziza, thank you for escorting them back. They were naturally referring to Ningya and her mother. After Ziza sent them back, she naturally had to go back with them. The reason why the two survived was very simple. They were saved by the kind sorcerer king, who could not bear to hurt the children, so he allowed them to recuperate before sending them back. With the foreshadowing above, Karko had no doubts and even thanked Ainz for it. Sig looked around and saw Ningye, the girl with the ferocious eyes, at the back of the crowd. Next to her was a tall woman, who should be her mother. He nodded slightly in that direction. Shouldn't we say goodbye properly to the friend we just made for the first time? Friend? Nia is just a follower. Ziza tilted her head. Sig immediately exposed her lie. Then why is there a 1 yen sticker on her body? Isn't that something that only people Ziza likes can get? Ziza was stuck. She thought seriously for a moment. It should be a friend. When Ainz heard these words, it was as if a brilliant firework exploded in his heart. He was so happy to see his companion's child grow up like this. Many people watched the carriage go away, including Ningye, whose eyes were full of longing. I will definitely become a true paladin. In order to see Ziza again and to have the chance to follow Sig-sama, I must become stronger. As the carriage galloped away, everything was finally settled. Chapter 218. The Council of States, inside the open-air Supreme Meeting Room. All the judges of various races have taken their seats, and a depressing and dull atmosphere lingers throughout the venue. This is the first time such a large-scale meeting has been held since the entire country entered a state of war preparation, and it was presided over by Lord Dragon King himself. The fact that the lifelong reviewer is a dragon is no secret in the review country. The Council Nation is a rare multiracial country, with humans accounting for less than 10% of the population, and the rest are subhumans. The faces of the judges present were different, including lizardmen, ogres, goblins, and even mermaids, and of course humans. The reviewers are also selected based on race, and all of them are the best of their race. The most fundamental reason why they were able to unite and not fight each other like the demi-humans in the Abelian Hills was that they had a leader who was strong and intimidating enough. In this world, originally only the Dragon Clan with the name of Dragon King could integrate so many races and establish an advanced parliamentary system. If it weren't for this restraint, humans would probably have been unable to survive here long ago. After all, many subhumans have a special liking for human flesh, especially the ogres. But the biggest problem at the moment is that the de facto ruler of the Council State, the Platinum Dragon King, has been imprisoned. This news originally came from the Holy Kingdom and has now been confirmed on the other side. The Golden Princess, also the Prime Minister of the Sorceress Kingdom, commissioned the Adamantite-class adventurer Vermilion Dewdrop, played by Pandora, to bring a message. The general meaning is that the evil dragon intended to attack the monarchs of the three kingdoms, but has now been completely sealed. This is now regarded as an act of declaration of war, and a formal declaration of war will be sent soon. To prove the authenticity of the news, a broken piece of dragon horn was also found. The Blue Sky Dragon King is the most powerful of the 4 Dragon Kings and is also the most trusted by the Platinum Dragon King. He usually takes charge when the other party is not around. Since the last meeting at the Dragon Tower, he has been acting very carefully according to the plan. The moment he heard the news, the Blue Sky Dragon King's first reaction was that it was a lie, but the aura on the broken horn could not be faked, and he was completely unable to contact the Platinum Dragon King. Even if you don't believe it, the fact is obvious. Since the basic system is a parliamentary system, the fate of the council state should be decided through this channel. Enter Spherium Myron Silk Lifetime Counselor. As his real name was spoken, the Blue Sky Dragon King descended in the center of the venue. Sorceress Kingdom, Midgard. Greetings to His Majesty the Sorcerer King, His Majesty the Holy Dragon King. Lana lifted the hem of her skirt and bowed gracefully. Maybe it's because I haven't seen her for a long time, Lana has changed a lot, and has become the witch who destroys the country in my impression. She gave up the princess dress and put on a black backless long skirt that was more figure-flattering. The red-soled high heels added a hint of charm, showing her capableness. Greetings, Lady Albedo. As a qualified subordinate, Lana did not forget to greet her direct superior. Influenced by royal etiquette, all her movements were perfect as if they were carefully designed and there was no fault to be found. At the end of the Holy Kingdom, in order to improve efficiency, Lana was called back to start the plan against the Council Nation. Sig and Ainz knew about this, so they were not surprised to see her. Lana said respectfully, Lady Pandora has sent a message. I guess the Council will take action soon, and the declarations of war from various countries have been prepared. Ainz nodded and said, Rana, you did a great job. Do you have any reward you want? Such capable subordinates should naturally be rewarded appropriately. This is what a good leader should do. In addition to this matter, Lana also managed the Empire in an orderly manner and basically sidelined the Blood Emperor. She is truly a rare talent. Lana remained humble, it is my honor to serve the Supreme Being. I only want to be with Climb forever. Once this wish is fulfilled, I will have no other requests. As long as it is bestowed by the Supreme Being, I will accept it with tears of gratitude. Ainz felt a little embarrassed after hearing these words. Although Lana was not from Nazarick, she had obviously been assimilated. Finally he gave some magic items and promised a vacation later. Lana accepted it gladly, just as she said, and immediately expressed her gratitude. If Sig didn't understand Lana's true nature, he would probably have been fooled. This woman is not as simple as she seems. But he did not expose the other party. As long as he did not betray Nazarick, there was nothing wrong with being a little clever. In order to demonstrate her own value, Lana, as a genius, worked so hard, and of course she should be rewarded. This genius is not an adjective, nor is it a so-called genius profession, but a unique and super rare profession genius. Granting her the ability to transform into any general or basic profession means she can have countless talent bonuses, making her practically omnipotent. Although currently it can only become one at a time and cannot be transformed into an advanced profession, there is still a lot of room for growth in the future. Even if you want to become a prostitute, it is possible and you will get a super high bonus in bed experience. Just like Pandora, you can change however you want, it is really convenient. I have another matter to report. The city-state in the eastern part of the empire has expressed its willingness to surrender. The full name of this city-state is Cocytus City-State Union. After the collapse of a great power 100 years ago, it split into 14 small countries. After continuous fighting, the remaining 12 countries finally decided to stop fighting and formed an alliance together. Its geographical location is not very good. The plains in the east are dominated by the centaurs led by the king of horseback riding, a very powerful subhuman race. The situation of the urban United Nations is somewhat similar to that of the Dragon Kingdom. It is in a transitional area and is often threatened by demi-humans. Although the country's military strength is stronger than that of the Dragon Kingdom, because it is a member of the United Nations, its unity is somewhat weaker, so it also needs the help of foreign forces to reduce the power of the demi-humans. Although the majority of them are subhuman, they are located in a buffer zone with an important geographical location and are also close to the empire of human countries. The Church would also send support on the pretext of reducing the number of centaurs, and the urban United Nations would give some rewards. The two countries had always had a tacit understanding. Lana explained, after the dramatic changes in the Sicilian theocracy, the urban United Nations sent representatives to the empire to gather information. There is trade between the two countries, so they came up with this strategy. There is no need to say much about what happened next. With Lana's intelligence, it didn't take much effort for her to play with the opponent. Finally, all it took was to reveal the news that the Holy Kingdom had surrendered and the Council Nation was about to be destroyed, and the urban United Nations would be completely unable to sit still. After all, the entire northwest corner of the continent will be included in the sphere of influence of the Magic Kingdom, which is not something that one country can contend with. Ainz was also somewhat surprised, and after thinking for a while he recalled the information about this country. If it hadn't been mentioned at this time, Sig would have really forgotten that there was such a country. Its presence is so low. The current main target is still the Council country. The search for the underwater girl has been put on hold, and there is naturally no rush to conquer the urban union. But at this time, we need to gather the forces of various countries to deal with the Review Nation, so having one more spectator won't hurt. Ainz nodded and said very coldly, "Prepare to completely destroy the Council." "Yes, sir." Lana raised the corners of her mouth and quietly revealed a twisted smile. There's going to be a river of blood again. It's really exciting. Chapter 219. The luxurious car flying the Imperial flag was speeding across the plains, but the people sitting in it did not feel the bumps. The Blood Emperor was very proud of this, but when he saw that the person opposite him did not show any surprise at all, he couldn't help but feel a little self-doubt. Jerkniv tried his best to put on a kind smile. "Sir Caviria, you don't have to be too nervous. According to his own experience, as long as one surrenders voluntarily, the Sorceress Kingdom will not do anything to destroy the country. But in front of the person he likes, this ruthless Blood Emperor obviously wants to save some face and cannot tell the truth." The woman turned her head, her black hair tied up behind her head, and her narrow and long eyes revealed a very shrewd temperament. She is the representative of the Urban United Nations, the Mayor of Bib, Lee Gustav Cavlia. The Urban United Nations is composed of 12 small countries, which are actually 12 cities, and Bieber is one of them. Each city is managed by a mayor, who is equivalent to the supreme ruler. The Urban United Nations sent the mayor to negotiate, which was obviously full of sincerity. Caviria smiled appropriately. "Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty." Jerkniv looked out the window and sighed softly. As expected, the other party had no interest in him. Life was just too difficult, and the thought of seeing the woman he hated the most again made him feel even worse. The reason why Jerkniv hated Lana was simple, because that woman was simply impossible to see through. Before the kingdom was destroyed, Lana intentionally or unintentionally revealed the kingdom's intelligence through imperial spies, and would also put forward political views to solve cross-era problems at the right time. Because the advice was so good, Jerkniv had no choice but to adopt it, which made him feel like he was being manipulated by the other party. After Lana came to the Empire on the pretext of assisting, the Blood Emperor, known for his iron-blooded tactics, suffered a complete defeat. From resistance at the beginning to acceptance later, now I have completely laid down. Since he was completely defeated politically, he could only have children with his concubine. Whether it is an ally or a vassal state is not important. The good news now is that Lana has left temporarily, and Jerkniv no longer has to lose his hair due to stress. The bad news is that the Sorceress Kingdom has summoned him again. Caviria noticed his depression and said, "I heard that Your Majesty has 4 knights of the Empire as his subordinates. Why are there only 3 of you on this trip?" Jerkniv waved his hand. "One person has betrayed us, and there is no new candidate to replace him for the time being." In fact, he didn't care much about the departure of Chonghong, also known as Linus. He was a guy who was not very loyal. Realizing that she had asked an awkward question, Caviria apologized politely. "Your Majesty is very capable, so he will definitely have no shortage of followers." In the past, Jerkniv would have been very happy to hear this, but at this moment he had no ambition at all. It is really pathetic for a person who is just a little clever to be in front of someone who is completely superior to him in terms of martial arts and whose IQ is far higher than his own. However, he was also glad that he made the best choice, so that the empire would not be destroyed like the theocracy. "Remember my words, just surrender and don't do anything unnecessary." Caviria was stunned for a moment, then nodded seriously, "I understand." As the carriage drove into the city gate with a huge statue, the full view of the atrium slowly appeared. The undead, whom people avoid, can be seen everywhere on the streets. There were all kinds of races, demi-humans living in harmony with humans, and even blue maggots living in caves, which were a fairly rare species. Except for Bieber, which is a purely human country, other cities are also mixed with various races, but there is definitely no harmonious atmosphere like here. What's shocking is that dragons fly across the sky from time to time. There was an exceptionally tall and magnificent building in the distance. Caviria originally thought it was the royal city, but only learned from passers-by that it was a newly established magic academy. The dean is the famous magic chanter Flutter Paradine, who is said to have accepted 2 blonde beauties as his disciples. Jerkniv was silent, and Caviria finally understood why Jerkniv was so sad. The Empire's strongest force, Flutter, has actually defected to the Sorceress Kingdom. The Empire is not just bleeding heavily, its lifeline has been cut off. Fortunately, the Urban Union does not have such people, but this also means that they are not of much value. Caviria also fell silent, and the atmosphere in the car became solemn. In order to show respect, Lee received the guests this time. Please follow me, the 2 emperors are waiting. Although this was his second visit, Jerkniv felt as if he were in another world. Caviria was mostly nervous. Even though she was used to big scenes, she understood that the upcoming meeting would determine the fate of the country. But they didn't have time to think about it and were soon taken to the place. Unexpectedly, the meeting was not as serious as expected. The undead king, who exuded a terrifying aura, was talking to the young man beside him. The atmosphere was extremely harmonious, and there were only a few maids serving them. Ainz saw the 2 people coming and said directly, "Yuri, you have worked hard. Please leave." Yuri bowed and then slowly stepped back. "As you command." Sig smiled and greeted, "Your Majesty Jerkniv, this is the representative of the Urban United Nations, right?" Jerkniv took the initiative to introduce them. "She is the mayor of Bieber, Lee Gusta Cavalia, and these 2 are His Majesty the Sorcerer King and His Majesty the Holy Dragon King." Caviria immediately stepped forward and saluted, "It is a great honor to have the opportunity to meet your majesties. Casanus City-State Alliance is willing to offer its loyalty." It was quite unexpected that he came so straight to the point. I don't know if it's because Cavilia is too sensible, or because Lana does her job too well, or maybe it's both. Countries in the buffer zone never have many choices. The situation of the Urban Union and the Dragon Kingdom is not much different, it's just better because of the assistance. Life must be very difficult without a backer. Ainz suddenly asked, "What do you think of the council?" The news of the dragon attack has spread to all countries and is certainly no secret. Caviria thought for a moment, then immediately replied, "The crime is unforgivable and must be punished." He came up with the standard answer in such a short time. He is indeed a smart man. Jerkniv also showed admiration in his eyes. The woman he liked was indeed very capable. Sig asked with interest, "If we want to send troops to attack the council state, would the Urban Union be willing to take the lead?" Caviria was stunned for a moment, then bit her lip and said, "I am willing, but I can only make the decision for Bieber. For other places, I need the consent of other mayors." "I agree, but not completely." "This is a good answer." Sig smiled and waved his hands, "Haha, there's no need to go through so much trouble. Just issue a declaration of war. Be prepared to surrender." After experiencing many ups and downs, Caviria didn't react until the end of the meeting. "Is it that simple?" She laughed at herself and said, "It seems that I was worrying too much. Everything is just as Lord Lana said." Jerkniv sighed, "The world is about to change dramatically. It's great that a small person like us can save the country." The 2 looked at each other and actually felt a sense of sympathy. Moreover, the most pitiful country at this time should be the review country. Chapter 220. After Jerkniv and Caviria left, Ainz asked the maid who was serving him to leave as well. "I have been busy preparing for the attack on the Council Kingdom these few days since I came back from the Holy Kingdom. Now I can finally relax for a while. But it does feel a bit magical to take over a country so quickly." Sig smiled and explained, "Since we are setting out to conquer the world, it would save a lot of effort if we let our subordinates deal with small border countries like this. For Lana, handling a country is not a problem, and it may even bring unexpected surprises. In order to prove their own value, geniuses always make arbitrary guesses and do something redundant." Sig had this idea in mind, so he sent her to the Empire, but he didn't expect that he could directly take over the Urban United Nations. "However, in the eyes of my subordinates, they will definitely think more about it. Ainz lowered his voice so that only the two of them could hear. Sig-san, are you acting? It feels like you knew a lot of things in advance. No way, President, why are you like this? Sig rolled his eyes helplessly. If he was that powerful, why would he need to plan something? However, Ainz's last doubt was actually correct by accident. He did know the plot, but there was no way he could say such a thing out loud. Ainz laughed. He also felt that he was overthinking it a bit. Sig was just a little calmer. Knowing the future is too magical. Is the world they live in a fiction? How is this possible? Sig said seriously, by the way, after dealing with the affairs of the Council of State, I have to go on a long journey. Ainz asked curiously, where are we going? It must be a serious matter for Sig to deal with personally, but he couldn't figure out what to do for a moment. Maritime City, your memory is so bad, I guess I'll have to call you Old Bones from now on. Sig calmly threw a piece of jerky into his mouth. It was crunchy when chewed, and seemed to be made of dragon meat. If Ainz could drink tea, he would definitely spit it all out right now. Sig is always hurtful. However, what he couldn't understand was why he would take risks just for the existence of a mere suspected player. Sig-san, I think we should let the Guardian go instead. Sig shook his head. If it really is her, it would be too much not to meet her in person. She. Seeing Ainz's puzzled expression, Sig recounted his conversation with Ligu right. Of course, these are only supporting evidence. Sig recalled the detail that he had overlooked at first, which was that after he came online, in addition to Ainz, there was another person who was also highlighted in his friend list. But he didn't pay attention at that time, he was only thinking about the time travel. What? Ainz suddenly stood up. Sig held his forehead helplessly. President, this is just speculation at the moment. After all, time travel is not that simple. The most necessary condition is to possess world-class items, and if you want to travel through the guild stronghold together, the conditions may be even more stringent. Sorry, I was too excited. Ainz coughed lightly and sat down, but he could not hide his excitement and moved his butt several times. Sig smiled and made an invitation. So, do you want to come together? Forget it. I need to keep an eye on the Dragon King's movements here. It will be enough if you go. Besides, we weren't very familiar with each other, so maybe meeting each other would have a counterproductive effect, so neither of us added each other as game friends at that time. Ainz did not say the last sentence, but sighed silently in his heart. Sig comforted her, there's no need to think too much. Even if it's her, if she stands on the opposite side of Nazarick, I won't be lenient. Ainz leaned back in shock. Are you a devil? That kid confessed to you. Sig spread his hands. He was obviously not joking. That's not as important as Nazarick. Although Ainz thought this was correct, it was obviously not right. Then let's decide. I'll set up the transmission nodes so that it will be convenient for us to travel back and forth. Sig lowered his voice and said, it's best not to let anyone else know about this. Ligulit's condition is that she can only take me with her. The Guardians will definitely not agree if they know about this. Especially Albedo, she should have secretly formed the Supreme Hunting Team. The last time I went to the 8th floor, Albedo was not there. He must have been busy looking for someone outside. Sig didn't care about these things. There were no other Supreme Beings anyway, so he just let Albedo do what she wanted. Killing other players would also be a gain. But the sister of her former companion Yamaiko should be treated specially. Killing her directly would be too much. Ainz pondered for a long time, and finally nodded. I hope that the one sleeping on the seabed is really Ming-Mei-chan. The undead army is now ready and can attack at any time. It just lacks the right time. I will lead the charge against the dragon. Once I confirm the last thing, we will begin the attack. Leaving this sentence, Sig turned and left. Great-grandfather. Looking at the giant dragon emitting colorful light in front of him, Duradilin exclaimed. The corners of the seven-colored Dragon King's mouth trembled slightly, revealing a kind smile. Diro Dalong, long time no see. Although he was angry when he saw this offspring with only breasts but no brains, if she had not exposed her whereabouts, he would not have been caught and might still be living happily in the nest now. But she is the master's woman now, so she cannot be rude. Instead, she has to please him. Dalu Dilong smiled. In her impression, the seven-colored Dragon King would not let her call him great-grandfather, and she had to call him Sir Seven-colored Dragon King. He was clearly forcing his great-grandmother, but he always acted superior and liked to do some very perverted things. Now the status has been reversed, which makes me feel really refreshed. It turns out that my great-grandfather is really convinced by Lord Sig. That's great. The corners of the seven-colored Dragon King's mouth trembled even more. He remembered what his loving mother had whispered to him, so he blurted out, "I'm doing this for the future of the dragon race." The future of the dragon race? Sig adults. When he saw the person he had been thinking about, DeLong ran straight over without caring what he was wearing. The white rabbit restrained by the tube top kept bouncing, as if it was about to escape. The seven-colored Dragon King couldn't bear to see his offspring look so worthless, so he knelt down first and said, "Greetings, Lord Sig." DeLong looked at his great-grandfather in disbelief. He was even more attentive than himself. This old guy was so scheming. Adult Sig couldn't help but laugh. These grandparents and grandchildren were quite interesting. While he was tidying up DeLong's clothes, he asked the seven-colored Dragon King to stand up first before continuing the previous topic. "Kk, tell me what the future of the dragon race is. How come I don't know about this?" This word appeared when he condemned the Platinum Dragon King last time. He didn't remember that the seven-colored Dragon King was such a responsible person. The seven-colored Dragon King was visibly panicked, and he knelt down again without hesitation. "During the last battle, the loving mother left a message for me through the special communication method between the true Dragon Kings. For the future of the dragon race, you have done a great job." Sig smiled when he heard this. He finally understood his mother's ultimate intention. She had already stated that she would not interfere with Nazarick's actions. As expected of the Dragon King who has lived for 1,000 years, he is truly a scheming man. Chapter 221. The Kingdom of the Council, the Tower of Dragon. It's really exaggerated. It feels like I'm making an enemy of the whole world. After the Blue Sky Dragon King let out such a sigh, he had to face the current complicated situation. After receiving the verbal message, the formal declaration of war arrived as expected, and there was more than one copy. In addition to the Sorceress Kingdom, there are also the Protestant Kingdom, the Empire, the Dragon Kingdom, the Holy Kingdom, the Urban Union, and the Hidden Elf Kingdom. There are 7 countries in total, which almost cover all the forces in the northwest of the continent. The Worm Dragon King sneered disdainfully, "It's really hard for these filthy people. They have gone to great lengths to collect these countries. If they want to fight, just fight directly." Diamond Dragon King unconsciously looked towards the vacant main seat. "Ching Kong, still no news about Master Bajan." The Blue Sky Dragon King shook his head. He had tried everything he could and was now helpless. The voice of the Obsidian Dragon King came faintly, "Since you have become a discarded pawn, you might as well surrender." "Kezen Brut, what are you talking about?" The Worm Dragon King's eyes were about to spit fire, and he even called out the Obsidian Dragon King's real name, which was enough to show how angry he was. "Zarajil, I'm telling the truth. And does it need to be verified that the Council of State is a discarded pawn?" The Obsidian Dragon King was not afraid at all. His strength was superior to that of his opponent, and as a lifetime reviewer, he had the right to express his opinions. The Worm Dragon King opened his mouth, but couldn't think of any words to refute, so he just cursed fiercely, "Damn it!" The Sky Dragon King looked at the Obsidian Dragon King. This usually taciturn guy actually saw things so clearly and pointed out the truth directly. In fact, he knew it very well, but he just had fantasies in his heart. The Council Nation is indeed just a stronghold that can be abandoned at any time, and its only trump card at present is the precious item left by the Platinum Dragon King. But it should not be used lightly unless it is absolutely necessary. That's enough. Now is not the time to argue. The Dragon Clan is a race that admires strength extremely. The Blue Sky Dragon King is the strongest among the 4 dragons, so it is natural that he has the final say. The Diamond Dragon King then asked, "The Parliament should have a result later. Will it be war or surrender?" The Azure Sky Dragon King took a deep breath and said, "Fight, never surrender." Although the situation was tense, most of the reviewers chose to fight, a few chose to abstain, and no one chose to surrender. Apart from the idea of defending the country and relying on their own strength, most people actually do not believe that the Council of State will be defeated. After all, they have the Dragon King as their backer. The Platinum Dragon King was framed and imprisoned, and there were 4 other Dragon Kings who were not afraid of a mere undead. But the Blue Sky Dragon King knew clearly that there was a huge difference. His level is LV65, and the Forest Priest profession allows him to use up to the 5th order faith magic. The Diamond Dragon King and the Obsidian Dragon King are both above LV60, while the Worm Dragon King is only LV59. This is a simple numerical difference. Even if the four of them attack together, they cannot defeat the Platinum Dragon King. A casual cast of origin magic can kill them all. The Obsidian Dragon King didn't say much, then let's fight. I agree. The Diamond Dragon King nodded. He was good friends with the Blue Sky Dragon King, so naturally he trusted him more. The Worm Dragon King, on the other hand, was a little hesitant. In fact, he didn't want to fight as much as he looked. He was just strong on the outside but weak on the inside, using anger to hide his fear. But according to the principle of minority obeying the majority, it is useless for him to object at this time. I agree. The Blue Sky Dragon King saw their reactions and cleared his throat. Everyone, this battle is not for Lord Platinum, it's for the Council of Nations, for ourselves. In front of the battle, the Council assembled all its elite troops, totaling 200,000. It is truly a spectacle to see all races unite as one to resist foreign enemies. The four Dragon Kings are located in four directions, which makes it convenient to command and prevent enemy sneak attacks. The layout is that the stronger Azure and Diamond are in the front row and Obsidian and Worm are in the back row. The troops were deployed and the entire army was ready to meet the coalition forces of the Seven Nations. Heavy footsteps sounded from a distance, indicating that the enemy was slowly approaching. Everyone's heart was in their throat, and they swallowed their saliva as their throats rolled. The moment of the decisive battle was about to come. In this depressing atmosphere, a large army of undead came into view. The Death Knights were arranged in a square formation, marching in unison, looking like a well-trained army. 1,000, 2,000, only 5,000. Many soldiers who had never seen the horror of the Death Knight began to become complacent. 200,000 versus 5,000, the advantage is on me. The Blue Sky Dragon King also breathed a sigh of relief. Although the Seven Nations jointly declared war, the army consisted only of those from the Magic Kingdom. It turned out to be just a bluff. The person who leads the undead army should be the so-called Sorcerer King Ainz, the king of the undead. He has means to deal with the undead and creatures with dark attributes, and he may not fail. Just as the Blue Sky Dragon King was looking forward to finding the enemy commander, he was stunned for a moment. The man in black armor was suspended in the air, emitting a bright light that was hard to ignore. His dragon wings, dragon tail, and exposed skin could all prove his identity. The Holy Dragon King Sigris Hrasvald, who possesses dragon blood. Representatives from various countries were now sitting around the table, observing the situation on the battlefield through telephoto lenses. Ainz sat at the head of the table, and could see everyone's expressions clearly. Drodillan from the Dragon Kingdom and Karl from the Holy Kingdom are of the same kind. They are both nervous and expectant. Quinn Esser of the Theocracy was even more exaggerated. The look he gave Sig was like he was looking at a god, filled with reverence. Jerkniv of the Empire and Caviria of the Urban Union both had the same expression, looking exactly like victims. There is the Holy Dragon King over there who is about to carry out a massacre, and here there is the terrifying Magic King who is forcing people to watch. It is simply too perverted. Ainz also felt that this was a bit inappropriate, but in order to make his rule more stable, such simple intimidation was necessary. Dear delegates, please come and witness our victory. First we need to reduce their numbers. Death Knights are killing too slowly. After Sig said this coldly, a ferocious blood dragon shadow appeared behind him and a faint wailing sound was heard. The Blue Sky Dragon King felt uncomfortable. This was the fear that came from deep in his blood. Etc. Dragon Soul. Maximized range. The ghost exploded, turning into a death shock wave that reaped lives, leaving no one spared wherever it passed. The 200,000 strong army was reduced at a rate visible to the naked eye, and recently only 10% of the original number, or 20,000, was left. Not only the audience was shocked, Sig was also stunned. He purposely did not consume HP to strengthen the skill, and further reduced the power by expanding the range, causing far more casualties than he expected. However, what was also surprising was that after he killed someone, there seemed to be an additional flow of energy in his body that shouldn't have existed. Monster! The Worm Dragon King was the first to collapse mentally. He flapped his wings with all his might and fled into the distance. Sig looked over and raised his hand as if he was aware of something. The original Magic World Destruction. Chapter 222. How is this possible? The Blue Sky Dragon King has followed the Platinum Dragon King for many years, how could he not recognize this move? World annihilation is the most destructive original magic after the primal Big Bang, and it is also a skill created by the Platinum Dragon King. It is extremely powerful. The annihilation attribute contained in it will decompose everything it touches, causing complete death to the enemy, and no one can escape. Zarajil, don't run away. The Worm Dragon King naturally couldn't hear it, and even if he could, he wouldn't listen to the Blue Sky Dragon King's advice. The fear of death had filled his mind, and rationality had long been thrown out of his mind. Anyway, the Platinum Dragon King has been captured now, and he will not be punished no matter what he does. If he doesn't escape now, when will he escape? Does he really have to fight the monster to the death? Escape, the farther you run, the safer you will be. The Obsidian Dragon King couldn't help but curse loudly, "Worm, you idiot, look behind you." The Worm Dragon King snorted coldly. Of course he knew that he had companions behind him, but so what? However, after being scolded, he obviously couldn't just ignore it, especially when the person in question was someone he really hated. He glanced behind him, wanting to see the Obsidian Dragon King breaking through his defense, but he didn't expect to see a collision with world annihilation. What? Ah! Before the Worm Dragon King could utter a complete sentence, he was swallowed up in an instant and turned into ashes in the blink of an eye, without even a trace of his body left. But the violent flow of energy was not hindered by this, and the huge dragon body was not even a speed bump. The city walls were smashed, houses were flattened, and most of the city was destroyed, until a towering mountain a few kilometers away was cut in half before it disappeared. Such power even surpasses the original version of the Platinum Dragon King, with both power and endurance greatly improved. After all, more than 100,000 souls were sacrificed at once, so it is reasonable to have such an effect. Sig withdrew his hand and murmured, "It actually worked." He has always relied on the soul river shared by Jingke to use the original magic, and this is the first time he has used it independently. Dragon Soul does have the effect of gathering dead souls, but this is probably not the main reason for its success. The gathered souls sacrificed themselves voluntarily and transformed into pure soul power that flowed into Sig's body, as if it was supposed to be this way. Sig was very sure that he did not activate the sacrificial skill like Duradilin, but just used it to mobilize the suddenly appeared soul power with a trial mentality. Everything happened naturally, without any sense of blockage. Sig was very sure that he did not do anything special. Since it was not his own fault, it could only come from the outside world. There is only one person who can delve into the river of souls and is familiar with the existence of soul power. Sig suddenly raised his head, as if looking at the person who was peeping through the sky. In order to ensure the normal operation of the long-range lens, no anti-reconnaissance magic is deployed on this battlefield. I didn't expect there would be an uninvited audience member, but there might be more than one, no one can say for sure. But Sig could pronounce that name very confidently. "Tia, have you seen enough?" What a shame, they were discovered so quickly. The loving mother smiled and waved her hand, and the light screen reflecting the battlefield scene disappeared. Once your plan is discovered, you must stop in time to avoid being detected and your position being discovered. The purpose of surveillance is to obtain more intelligence. If you are too greedy, you will end up losing more than you gain. The loving mother was not worried that this move would affect the future alliance, because she was helping to remove obstacles. Even if they were of the same clan, she would kill them without mercy. Didn't this prove her sincerity? At the end of the last time, the loving mother left a little bit of her soul on Sig's body. To be precise, it was just a few particles, which was not difficult for her who could materialize the soul. Because it is not original magic and has basically no damage, it is not within the invalid range of world-class items. The breath belonging to the true Dragon King will attract the soul and guide the flow of soul energy, which is enough to deceive the will of the world and gain the qualification to use the original magic. Of course, there is a big prerequisite for doing all this, that is, the person being attached must have the ability to use the original magic. It is the truth of this world that you must learn something before you can get a corresponding career. The loving mother had been connected to the River of Souls for a long time, so she naturally noticed the sudden appearance of a strange aura, a newborn true Dragon King. By spying on the death of the Dark Dragon King, she confirmed the existence of the young true Dragon King, Mirror Color, and Sig who used the original magic through it. That's why she had been paying attention to Sig from the very beginning, and wanted to take the opportunity to confirm the other party's qualifications. Now she finally got the result she wanted. Not only does he have dragon blood, but he can also use original magic. In addition, he is a dragon knight who has a close relationship with dragons. There is finally some hope for the dragon clan. As long as it is used properly, the so-called filth can also bring a bright future for the dragon clan. So what if he is a player? As long as it is beneficial to the development of the tribe, it doesn't matter. The loving mother was in a very good mood, the smile on her lips was getting bigger and bigger, coupled with that face that could bring disaster to the country and the people, it was really tempting and full of danger, enough to make most men tempted. The Thousand-Blade Dragon King was obviously the one who didn't understand romance. He didn't even look at it and reported his discovery. Mother, the seal of the Rotten Coffin Dragon King that you asked me to pay attention to before seems to have loosened recently. The loving mother immediately stopped smiling and frowned slightly. Are you sure? After the Rotten Coffin Dragon King gave up his identity as a dragon and reincarnated as an undead, his connection with the River of Souls was severed. In order to maintain his sanity and to use the original magic to strengthen himself, he became obsessed with collecting souls, sacrificing lives for it and destroying many countries. The loving mother decided that she could not let him do whatever he wanted, so she joined forces with several true Dragon Kings, put pressure on the Rotten Coffin Dragon King, and forcibly sealed him underground. Not only can it stop the Rotten Coffin Dragon King from killing, it is also beneficial to himself as he no longer has to worry about turning into a soulless monster. Thousand-Blade Dragon King nodded. Well, it seems that someone wants to awaken the Rotten Coffin Dragon King. The loving mother's eyes turned fierce. The Platinum Dragon King was among those who participated in the seal. Was this his backup plan? After Sig's strange feeling disappeared, he retracted his gaze and turned his attention to the battlefield. Who is the head coach of the Council of State? Those who managed to survive were trembling and their mouths were shaking so much that they couldn't speak. The three Dragon Kings were not in a much better condition. They had not yet recovered from the attack just now. It was really unbelievable that humans could use the original magic. For a moment, the battlefield became so quiet that you could almost hear a pin drop. Sig frowned, but because he was wearing a head armor, no one else could tell his emotions. However, it is precisely because of the unknown that people are more afraid. The wind on the battlefield was growing stronger and stronger, as if it was making a wailing sound. The Azure Dragon King finally stood up and said, I am the Azure Dragon King, William Ironsilk, the lifelong counselor of the Council Nation. I am the head coach for now. I am willing to do anything to calm your country's anger. Sig asked with interest, interesting, then are you willing to sacrifice yourself in exchange for the lives of a quarter of the people? Chapter 223. Why 1/4? The Blue Sky Dragon King obviously did not understand the meaning of this number and was a little confused. Since it was the Platinum Dragon King who made the mistake, the Dragon Clan should bear the responsibility, and no innocent people should be affected. Sig turned sideways to show the tragic scene of the battlefield more clearly. Your Excellency Azure Sky Dragon King, you should have such awareness. The Blue Sky Dragon King's breathing stagnated. The so-called 1/4 meant that the 4 of them would be exchanged for the lives of the remaining citizens. It is realistic and cruel, but it is also the most reasonable solution at present. Let me ask you this for the time being. The Worm Dragon King is already dead. Can his life be counted as one of them? A coward who runs away is not worthy of respect. Sig changed the subject, with a hint of laughter in his voice. However, since you have brought it up, I can also consider it. The Azure Sky Dragon King breathed a sigh of relief and said sincerely, Thank you for your mercy, Your Majesty. The Diamond Dragon King couldn't help but ask, Swilia, do you really want to agree to such a condition? Not only are they the lifelong counselors of the Council of State, they are also genuine Dragon Kings and subordinates of the Platinum Dragon King. Even if one dies on the battlefield, one should not be so spineless as to wag one's tail and beg for mercy. The pride of the dragon race must not be tarnished. The Azure Sky Dragon King sighed quietly, we have no choice. Do we really have to drag the Council of Ministers down with us? He looked at the people shivering below. He thought that after seeing the difference in strength between the two sides, they no longer had the will to fight. In fact, the Blue Sky Dragon King's selfish desire was to make the Council nation surrender. He knew very well that the Platinum Dragon King's great cause had nothing to do with them, and even the purpose of establishing this country was to conceal its true intentions. So, there is no need to die in vain. But these Dragon Kings are different. Once they choose to follow the Platinum Dragon King, they cannot easily break their oaths. The Dragon Clan is also a race that keeps its promises. The Worm Dragon King is a special case. He has followed for the shortest time and has a very bad personality. He is bloodthirsty and cruel to the weak, but will wag his tail and beg for mercy to the strong. The Sky Dragon King had guessed that the Worm Dragon King did not want to die obediently, but he did not expect that he would run away at the very beginning. The most timid guy was the first to die. It was probably fate. I agree with the choice of the Blue Sky Dragon King. The Obsidian Dragon King flew over from behind. His voice was very calm. He was as calm as ever. The Diamond Dragon King was so angry that his lungs were about to explode, committing suicide in front of the battle. Are you really going to do this? Well, let me interrupt you. Giving your life means fighting me to death. Sig's mouth curled into an arc. After all, suicide is too boring. I won't ask for that. The Diamond Dragon King was so shocked that his jaw dropped. He asked in disbelief, you mean, you want to fight the three of us? Sig raised his right hand and waved, smiling, everyone, come on together if you are ready. It has been a long time since I have killed dragons at will. I hope they won't let me down. Sig-san, you've gone too far. Ainz wiped off the non-existent sweat. He showed no reaction on the surface, but in reality he had gone mad and kept complaining in his mind. Several people sitting in the audience were also stunned by Sig's actions. They never expected it to develop like this. So much so that the initial impact of Dragon Soul and world annihilation had been forgotten, and they all focused on looking at the distant lens, afraid of missing any details. Jerkniv and Kaviria's expressions were very synchronized, and they looked a bit like a couple. What a wonderful fate! Dorodilin twisted his body a few times and whispered uncontrollably, oh no, Master Sig is so handsome. Her focus was obviously not on the massacre. There was no need to be merciful to the enemy, especially when the person who was doing the execution was her favorite Lord Sig. If anyone is at fault, it must be the enemy who is too ungrateful. Karko was still worried at first, but after hearing this, she looked over in surprise, very handsome. Drodilin didn't expect that her whisper was heard, I'm just shocked that Lord Sig can use the origin magic. Only dragons can use it. Karko smiled slightly, His Majesty Drodilin seems to also have the title of Black Scale Dragon King. Ainz took the opportunity to continue the conversation, the true Dragon King is an existence that can use the origin magic. His Majesty Drodilin deserves the title. Although Drodilin didn't want to mention this title, he still smiled politely when he heard the obvious compliment, it's just barely usable, far inferior to Lord Sig. It doesn't matter, His Majesty Sig is really perfect. Karko's face showed a little shyness. The two seemed to have noticed something and looked at each other in scrutiny. This feeling seems to be the breath of the same kind. On the battlefield, both armies retreated to a distance of 100 meters, and the commander stood in front of the formation. On one side is a lone black knight, and on the other are 3 giant dragons. Even though Sig appears to be very powerful at the beginning, skills of that power definitely cannot be used continuously. In addition, the dragon race is very good at close combat, so the advantage of many to one is huge. It's really hard to judge the outcome of this battle. Of course, this is only the surface situation, and the tense atmosphere is deliberately created. In fact, for a level 100 player, it is easy to deal with several level 60 dragons, even without special attacks against dragons. Sig did this, of course, to make subsequent conquest plans easier and to completely incorporate the council state into the territory. The Blue Sky Dragon King said in a serious voice, I hope your Majesty can keep his promise. I will. The Blue Sky Dragon King no longer hesitated, and a magic circle appeared in front of him. Forest priests are good at using the natural environment to fight, especially in the forest where their advantage is most obvious. Their alias is Druid. The magic was successfully activated, and the vines of the plant broke through the ground. Plant winding Sig was instantly wrapped up by the vines like a dumpling, trapped in place and unable to move. Immediately after the next attack came, a black sword came rushing over, it was the Obsidian Dragon King's magic obsidian sword. Sig didn't care about the vines on his body at all. He raised his arm and a sword immediately appeared in his hand. With the infusion of magic power, the sword radiated a dazzling golden light. Holy Inquisition, the vines disappeared the moment they released their sword energy, and the obsidian sword was chopped in half, heading towards the Obsidian Dragon King's body. Crystal Guardian, the scales on the Diamond Dragon King's body emitted a crystalline glow, directly blocking the sword energy. As a true Dragon King known for his defense, Diamond is his synonym, hard and indestructible. But this time, the Diamond Dragon King obviously miscalculated. The sword energy broke through the diamond hard defense cleanly and split the dragon's body directly in half. Ahmed. The Blue Sky Dragon King's eyes were red with anger, and he called out the Diamond Dragon King's real name, but the other party was obviously unable to answer him. Although it is not dead yet, it is not far away. Currently, it is only supported by the tenacious vitality of the Dragon Clan. The Obsidian Dragon King was still frightened at this time, and his eyes became solemn. Sig shook the holy sword in his hand, not going on. Chapter 224. The Holy, Magic, Sword Garam is a genuine dragon-slaying sword that has a special attack effect against dragons and a sacred attribute bonus. In addition to Gungnir, Sig uses this sword most often, especially when dealing with dragons. It always achieves twice the result with half the effort. He kindly suggested, if you don't want your companion to die immediately, you should rescue him quickly. The Blue Sky Dragon King seemed to have just woken up from a dream. He did not dare to act rashly, fearing a sudden attack from the enemy. But now his companion is about to bleed to death, how can he hesitate here? It turns out that he still lacks experience in facing strong enemies. He is the forest priest, the only one who can use healing magic. How could he fail at this moment? Then the Blue Sky Dragon King no longer hesitated and raised his hand to release a magic circle. Severe injury healed as the soft green light enveloped the Diamond Dragon King, the gushing blood finally stopped. However, broken limbs cannot grow back immediately, and fighting ability cannot be restored in a short period of time. If you force yourself to fight, you may really die. The Diamond Dragon King had blood flowing from his mouth, but he still said stubbornly, I can still continue to fight, for the glory of the dragon race. The Blue Sky Dragon King just sighed slightly. Ahmed's title is Diamond, which not only symbolizes the strength of defense, but also represents his diamond-like tough character. If the Diamond Dragon King were to withdraw from the battle at this time, it would definitely be more painful than killing him. The Blue Sky Dragon King stretched out his dragon claws, stand up, let's fight together. Diamond, thanks to you for protecting me just now. The Obsidian Dragon King came to the other side of the Diamond Dragon King, and the three dragons stood on a united front with a fearless spirit. It is really clear at a glance who is the good guy and who is the villain. Sig, who knows his position, naturally doesn't plan to hold back. He is a villain, so he will naturally give his righteous partners the deepest despair, and he also has partners. Armament. A section of the hilt of a sword appeared in the void, and Sig raised his hand and pulled it out. It was a large sword wrapped in lightning. Take-Mure is a master of weapon making. His masterpiece is the Take-Mure 8 styles named after himself. He upgraded it for 8 generations to get this weapon that can tear through legendary armor. Breaking through the dragon scale's defense should be no problem. Sig held the long-lost weapon and suddenly remembered some interesting things that happened in the past. Back in Yggdrasil, in order to obtain confidential information about Takamai, Taketo Takemikaze gave Sig a weapon he made as a gift. Sig has the weapon expert profession and can use any type of weapon, so naturally he accepted them all. After a thorough explanation, the color of Takamai's underwear was revealed. That period of time was really happy, but unfortunately Takamai quit the game later and Taketo Takemura was unable to achieve his goal. All good things must come to an end, and in the end everyone goes their separate ways. Sig spread his wings, raised the holy sword in his right hand, and placed the katana horizontally in his left hand, forming a cross posture. Holding weapons with both hands is also a form of respect. Let's continue with the second round, Dragon Kings. Obsidian Sword Earthbound Crystal Barrier. Several attacks came, but Sig didn't rush to dodge, instead he rushed forward directly. Divine Light Protection Blessing Glow Evasion Dragon's Magic Eye. With the help of several buffs, Sig was enveloped in golden light, and the black figure looked like a burning Sunday shattered star as the lightning surged. The Diamond Dragon King's hard dragon scales were directly split open, and his neck was cut off, killing him on the spot. The first step is naturally to reduce the number of people and eliminate the weakest ones. The Obsidian Dragon King had already gathered his breath and opened his mouth wide, ready to release it. Holy Inquisition. Sig swung his hand back, and the holy sword emitted a dazzling light, a sacred aura overflowed, and the sword energy rushed straight into the sky. It's really hard to imagine that it's even more powerful than the last attack. The Obsidian Dragon King saw his own death and closed his eyes calmly. With a wave of his hand, 2 of his companions died. The Blue Sky Dragon King had no time to feel sad because it was his turn next. Sig looked down at the Blue Sky Dragon King from a high position. With its green body and plant-like features, it seemed that he was a forest dragon. It looks very similar to the Gachapon dragons in Nazarick, but its strength is still not comparable. Those two dragons are close to level 90. Blue Sky Dragon King, if you surrender now, I can keep half of the population. The Azure Sky Dragon King gritted his teeth, feeling a deep sense of powerlessness at this moment. I really can't satisfy you after all. Too weak, not even a warm-up. Sig's merciless words made the Blue Sky Dragon King no longer hesitate, and he finally used his last trump card, a slightly rusty gun tip. The world-class item Spear of Destiny has a very simple effect. It gives the Chosen One power that exceeds his own strength and is the purest type of enhancement. The Platinum Dragon King did not completely give up on the Council Nation and kept such a precious item. Or maybe he felt it was unsafe to carry it with him all the time, so he asked the Blue Sky Dragon King to help preserve it. But now that it has appeared, it can only belong to Nazarick. The Blue Sky Dragon King thrust the tip of his spear into his heart, and his body swelled at a speed visible to the naked eye until it became twice its original size. You will never succeed in destroying the Council Nation. This kind of item is indeed a bit troublesome. It is impossible to offset the impact by wearing world-class items, and Eye of Bearer will not work either. However, it also has great limitations and is subject to the user's own attributes. Life Essence Magic Essence. Sig smiled, it turned out to be just as he expected. Although the health and mana values have skyrocketed, it is not too exaggerated, probably around level 90. An energy ball appeared out of thin air in his hand, and a vortex of energy formed around his body, swallowing up everything like a black hole. It's better to strike first. Don't blame me for bullying long. Dragon Kill, Ultimate Death. The Blue Sky Dragon King only felt an endless supply of power surging from his body, but before he could think about anything, he felt the pleasure of his health bar being emptied. Even if the new generation dragons are at the same level as the true Dragon King, their strength is relatively weak, and there is no essential difference between them and the dragons in Yggdrasil. Just like that, the Blue Sky Dragon King, who had just made a harsh statement, crashed at the speed of light, but he could still use healing magic, and his blood volume was not a problem in his all-round strengthened state. It's okay, he can't do anything to me. Really? Sig punched the Blue Sky Dragon King in the face with his iron fist and chopped him quickly with Kamikaze 8 styles, treating him as a big sandbag. The Blue Sky Dragon King was soon beaten to the point of collapse, unable to move. Now that you are satisfied, just kill me. I won't kill you because I need witnesses, so just do as you said and save the lives of all the people. Really? Sig smiled and said, but the citizens I'm talking about don't include those who attempt to resist. This is a very simple truth, right? Chapter 225. All troops will attack, and those who resist will be killed. Those who surrender will not be killed, and the Council of Ministers will be completely conquered. Following Sig's order, the undead army began to move, and the Death Knight charged forward wielding his great sword. Skeleton beasts shrouded in mist also invaded from all directions and joined the battlefield. The Soul Eater loves to devour the souls of the living. It is higher in level than the Death Knight, who is also an undead, and has a diffuse death aura skill called Soul Eater, which allows it to harvest lives even faster. Faced with the aggressive Death Legion, the army of the Council Nation had already given up resistance and threw their weapons to the ground. As lifelong members of the Dragon Council, they were defeated so easily. What else could they do? They might as well surrender as soon as possible. Obviously, the battle just now has made the people of the commentary country face up to the reality and no longer dream of victory. Just as Sig said, the undead were simply ignoring those who knelt down and begged for mercy, and they rushed straight into the city. Anyone who wants to resist will be ruthlessly killed by the soul-eating demon without even having the time to even cry out. Sig turned around and said, "Don't worry, I'll keep my promise, but a little interest will also be charged accordingly." Sig did not say this, but the Blue Sky Dragon King quickly understood it. Sig raised his hand and used the special skill Equipment Deprivation that can only be learned by high-level professional weapon experts when they reach LV5. He can forcibly remove an equipment from the opponent without contact. The effect is very strong, but the conditions for its effectiveness are actually a bit harsh. It is unlikely to be effective against a true Dragon King who masters the original magic. However, the Blue Sky Dragon King is not a real Dragon King, so Equipment Deprivation was naturally successfully activated. The tip of the spear fell into Sig's hand, stained with dragon blood. It is indeed a world-class item. Another collectible. The Blue Sky Dragon King only felt that the strength that had originally gushed out of his body was rapidly drying up. He was unable to support his huge body and fell to the ground with a thud. The noble and powerful Dragon King was covered in mud and had lost the ability to fly, and seemed to be no different from a lizard. It's a complete loss. The Blue Sky Dragon King struggled several times before he slowly stood up and looked up at the figure above. All 3 Dragon Kings died, nearly 200,000 troops were destroyed, and precious props were lost. The price was indeed not small. But in exchange for the fact that the review state avoided complete destruction, perhaps it was worth it. At least all of this was valuable. If it were 100 years ago, it would be hard for the Blue Sky Dragon King to imagine that he would care so much about the lives of the subhumans. He has also changed a lot, probably becoming more responsible. However, he who chooses to face the enemy will probably become the one who bears all the sins. The best outcome would be to die with your companions at this moment. As the dragon blood disappeared, the Blue Sky Dragon King's consciousness became confused, his vision became blurred, and everything around him seemed like a dream. Holy lance of destiny overdrew his life, and his will to live gradually disappeared. Sig looked up at the sky and said, "The show is over. Let Xiao Di take over the rest of the battlefield. Also, we can't let the Blue Sky Dragon King die." The sound seemed to come from far away. The Blue Sky Dragon King felt himself wrapped in a soft warm current. The familiar forest scent made him feel particularly at ease. Mare smiled. "That's great. I didn't disappoint Sig-sama." Aura came forward from behind and said, "It's okay as long as you're not dead. It would be a waste to use resurrection magic. Albedo will scold you for that. What do we do with these 2? Don't worry about the white one for now, the black dragon needs to be retrieved." The 2 of them were speaking words that the Blue Sky Dragon King could not understand, but from the way they addressed each other, it was certain that they were from the Sorceress Kingdom, and they seemed to be discussing something related to dragons. The Blue Sky Dragon King slowly opened his eyes and was hesitating whether to speak when 2 forest dragons emitting a powerful aura appeared. The Golden Dragon and the Green Dragon showed an appearance of complete submission, completely obeying the Dark Elf. The 2 elves also looked over. Mare's eyes flashed darkly. This bad dragon used a tool to attack Lord Sig. I think he needs to be punished. Aura nodded, "You do it, don't kill him." The Blue Sky Dragon King felt a powerful shock in his heart, but was soon knocked unconscious by a magic staff. Mare smiled. "As expected, we should cure the patient first and then educate him." The undead attacked and seized the city, and soon occupied most of it. The news of the Dragon King's defeat spread quickly, and many people no longer had the will to resist. The system of the review country is indeed very advanced, but the management at the national level is quite loose and each ethnic group has a high degree of autonomy. Without a powerful leader, the country immediately fell apart. Led by the councillors of various ethnic groups, they surrendered one after another. In the meeting hall, Ainz sat on the throne, and representatives from various countries stood respectfully below. "The Sorceress Kingdom will conquer the world. I hope you all understand what this means." As spectators, they watched the entire process and naturally expressed their submission. Nowadays, whether it is an ally or a vassal state is not so important. Just like the 8 Desire Kings hundreds of years ago, it would be easy to destroy such a powerful force. Ainz nodded in satisfaction, and then asked everyone to leave. When no one was in the room, Ainz sighed softly, "Sig-san is really efficient. It's much faster than expected." "Of course. I am the supporter of Nazarick." Sig walked out from the corner and stretched comfortably after the exhibition match. Ainz said helplessly, "Sig-san, next time you come, don't be silent. It's scary." "Sorry, I won't do that next time." Sig apologized with a smile, pulled up a chair and sat down, took out the tip of the gun, and threw it in a beautiful parabola in the air. "Here, a world-class item." Ainz took it and immediately put it away. He was indeed a gadget collector. Ahem, leaving behind the Azure Sky Dragon King should be for the purpose of controlling the Council Nation. Sig nodded, "Fighting with me should leave a positive impression on the Blue Sky Dragon King in the hearts of the people of the Council Nation, and it will be easy to control him later. If several Dragon Kings were like the Worm Dragon King, it would be difficult to implement the plan. First, use deterrence to reduce part of the population, give the Dragon King a chance to stand out, and finally show mercy. In short, the process is like this, and it is not difficult to implement, but an insider is still indispensable." Ainz replied, "The Obsidian Dragon King helped a little, we will revive him later." "That's right, in fact, the Obsidian Dragon King had been turned against the government a long time ago, and his role was to control the overall situation. The process of subversion is also very simple. After all, who doesn't want to survive? Smart people know how to choose. I felt very relieved to let Xiaodai handle the preparation stage. Message Sig was stunned by the sudden information, and then he laughed. The timing is just right. Ainz was confused. What's wrong? Kang Qianggui has arrived at the Sea City. It seems that I should set off as well.
If you're enjoying the story so far and want to hear the next parts, don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like me to continue the series, drop a comment below letting me know. Your feedback and support keep these audiobooks going strong. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.